mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive, this is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby, Stanley, and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
And welcome into the Monday edition of Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezvik here with you on this Monday morning. Hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend over the weekend. Joe Rexrode, good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm awesome. You know, I know that we're going to talk draft today, but I just like to say Steph Curry's the GOAT, man. Steph Curry's the GOAT.
The GOAT, huh?
I don't know what he's the GOAT of exactly.
Well, he's the greatest shooter ever, no question.
Well, he's the greatest. He's also the greatest little man ever, and that means that he eclipses my favorite athlete of all time, Isaiah Thomas.
I know. It's a big statement from you.
It is, but he is. But I thought about this yesterday. I think the most excited I've been to watch an athlete my entire life was Barry Sanders. You know, like that. He made the Lions
tolerable,
necessary to watch every Sunday. Yeah. Okay. Steph Curry is the most entertaining athlete of my lifetime. So that's where he's the GOAT.
Well, in the words of Nick Saban, you had him dead and buried and gone yesterday. Gone.
Yeah,
and then
you
all of a sudden
Joe.
they're back in there.
That was a reverse jinx.
Oh,
it worked
good.
Perfectly.
Good. That was pretty awesome yesterday. 50 points in a game 7. You don't see that happen very often.
And the way he got him, like George Gervin looping finger rolls in the line. It's just insane, man.
Just nuts yesterday from Steph Curry. We'll get into that. And a couple of enormous upsets in the National Hockey League yesterday, too, with the 65-win Boston Bruins being bounced in the first round after leading 3-1. And the reigning Cup champions out last night to an expansion team in the Seattle Kraken. We'll get into all that coming up a little bit, too. What a wild weekend in the world of sports. Michelle, good morning. How are you?
Doing great this morning. And yeah, Joe, Robby and I were talking about you. You prematurely tweeted about the Warriors. We're like,
emotional roller coaster.
Joe is all out. And he quotes a tweet. He's like, just kidding, Steph. You're the best ever. Doing good this morning. Excited that we have a lot to talk about this weekend for the next couple of months. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen on the program.
Yes, we do.
And years.
People, years. We have people texting in 30 minutes in advance of the show today as to what the Titans did this weekend. Specifically what they did in the second round, moving up to draft one Will Levis out of Kentucky to be the quarterback of the future for the Tennessee Titans. Gunner on the text line says, guys, I'm ecstatic with the Levis pick. I've been so frustrated with Titans fans online after round one. Same old Titans trade up to get a guy with max upside. That's what the fans have been saying, not even giving it a chance. And then he goes on the, just kind of the Colts comparison of them drafting Anthony Richardson as well. Joe, as soon as I saw the draft kicking off on Friday and the Titans moving up to 33, I knew exactly what they're doing. I knew that they were getting ready to draft Will Levis, and I had about 45 people text me at that time, just like, what is going on here? And obviously there's been quite the wide variety of reactions since then. So let's just start with you, Joe. Titans drafting Will Levis at 33 overall. They move up in order to do it. What do you make of what the Titans did on Friday in the second round, drafting Will Levis out of Kentucky?
Well, let's talk about two aspects of it. One, the personal aspect, two, the Titans aspect. The personal aspect, I mean, I spent 2 days in that Titans media room just absolutely hounding Kaharski about the idea that Will Levis would be the pick. And when it was the pick, the howls of laughter that came out of my body at Paul Kaharski's expense were amazing. It's for us, this is almost best case scenario.
It really is.
Any of the quarterbacks would have been, made things way more interesting right here, obviously, right? I mean, you're starting the clock and I think it's just amazing that the AFC South all of a sudden is just basically this whole, okay, which one of these quarterbacks is going to end up being better? From the Titans' perspective, look, it's an incredible value, obviously, if it works out. It's such an interesting thing because it's like, well, That's a heck of a value. And they did move up, which tells you something, but also, so again, it's like they want to be right on Will Levis, moving up, sacrificing a third rounder next year. After this year, they didn't have a fourth rounder, and getting him and using a very valuable second round pick. I mean, 33 can get you a lot of good football players.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to be a little bit wrong, a little bit wrong, because if they thought that much of him, then you take him at 11. Now, look, I think one thing about this draft, I think it was discussed more than I ever remember it being discussed after a John Robinson draft. I mean, these guys are like, the board said this. Peter Skoronski's ahead of Will Levis. There's the board, right? I mean,
yeah,
the big board was faithfully followed by Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel. So
not a lot of wide receivers on that board.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I bet you there were, and those wide receivers were like in the 70s, and they moved back trading Levis, and then those wide receivers went boom, boom, boom. I bet you Downs, Tillman, and Hyatt, or at least a couple of them, were probably on that board, and then they're gone. So, but the Levis thing, and we'll get into all of that, of course. I mean, the Levis thing is just, I mean, that's what it is. The whole draft is that. It's Levis, It's, if he ends up being a good player and what they hope he is, man, great job. You got him at 33, and these other teams, were way up at the top of the draft.
Zach from Nashville.
But it might not work out.
Zach from Nashville says, I'm excited for WHMR, the Homertown Boys, Lexington's favorite sports station this morning. But sad that PK won't let Joe talk sports this morning since he's broadcasting from home. That's a great text from Zach. Very well done.
That is a great text. And, yeah, I see you got a Rob rant today. That's good. I'll save my PK. Maybe I'll rant about that the day right before PK comes on this week.
Maybe so.
It's about enough of his crap.
Look, all right, so as far as I'm concerned on the Will Levis thing, look, I made my position on him pretty clear before the draft. I don't like the pick, and there was not going to be a scenario where they drafted Will Levis where I would have liked the pick. Now, having said that, what I'm going to do now is what I would encourage every Titans fan to do, that even a lot of those Titans fans that don't like Will Levis, I'm not a huge fan of the pick. I personally don't believe he's going to be good. Now, I'm also open to being wrong. I think the job now, if you're the Titans, I mean, you've drafted him. So you put your eggs in that basket. You've put your eggs in the Will Levis basket. So now what you're doing if you're a Titans fan, and particularly if you're a Titans fan that didn't like Will Levis heading into the draft, I think is, all right, well, he's going to be the quarterback at some point here, whether that's at some point this year or if that's next year at probably the latest, he's going to be the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. So analyzing the traits that he brings to the table. We've talked about the strong arm. We've talked about, the athleticism that he brings to the table. One thing that I don't think other people have discussed enough, the S2 score was pretty good with Will Levis. So there's that you have to factor in as well. All those, the kind of testing that we've talked about so much with C.J. Stroud and Hendon Hooker and all these other guys, Will Levis did really well through that. So, I don't like the pick, but I will be open to being wrong as the Titans move forward here. And that's just kind of the way that, as I've kind of digested it this weekend, we've talked about Will Levis so much in the pre-draft process, and it's almost surreal that he's actually here and is the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans. But, I mean, there's nothing that they could have done that would have changed my mind about the pick itself. So now the only thing I can really do moving forward is to have an open mind and to actually let the information on the field as an NFL player influence what my opinion of him is going to be as they move forward here.
The approval rating of Will Levis, if you took Titans fans and you said, okay, this segment of the Titans fan base are also Vols fans.
Yeah.
And this segment of the Titans fan base, all the non-Vols fans. I bet you the non-Vols fans right now are probably like more than 50% in favor. And the Vols fan size are like 0.03% in favor of Will Levis as their quarterback.
And now you get to root for him. Home team, baby.
Yep. You're just going to have to warm up to the idea.
I got somebody very close to me that abandoned their Titans fandom the other day and is now a Detroit Lions fan. I kid you not.
Well, welcome. You can take my spot that I abandoned 24 years ago, and I'm still living a better life for it. Cheers. Are you serious? They're
100%.
seriously Lions fans?
Oh, yeah. And this was before they drafted Hooker. And then when they drafted Hooker, it was solidified.
That does it.
Yeah.
Poor Hendon Hooker. Poor Hendon.
Oh, I made some Lions fans really mad with that tweet the other day. As soon as he got drafted, I said, Hendon, I'm so sorry when he got drafted to the Lions. And some Lions Twitter fans really mad at me.
Yeah, I know. I said something about it. I tweeted something about it too, and of course I have a lot of Lions fans, from Michigan who they got all mad. And again, I just say, well, you're mad. I'm sad for you. The Levis thing is just, it's you're right. It is surreal, right? Like we've joked about it. It's like, please let it happen. It's got to happen again, just for the entertainment factor of it. But look, I mean, obviously, since the pick, and even before the pick, but since the pick even more, I've tried to read and digest everything written and said, about him that I could find. And there's a lot of arguments you can make for him. I don't know if he's going to put it all together, but there are arguments you make for him. And of course, Vrabel and Carthon made some of those arguments after taking him Friday night. But it's going to be wild, and I don't even know exactly how this year is going to go. I mean, there's a lot of ways it could go this year. He should sit, but who knows?
Michelle, how you feeling with Will Levis, the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans of the future?
I had a feeling, that once the reports started coming out that a couple teams started to trade in at the end of the first, and Tom Pelissero said one of them was, the Tennessee Titans, and then I actually was watching the draft on my laptop while we were driving to Chicago this weekend, and, you think it's going to be the Steelers pick, and you're like, no, and then Arizona comes up, and they're like, there's a trade. I'm like, Ryan's driving, I'm like, oh gosh, they go, the Tennessee Titans. And I whipped out my phone to get a video because I always love to see Rand Carthon, Amy Adams-Strunk, and Vrabel in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we sat there for a moment, and I was like, whoa, we've talked a lot about this. But yeah, I was surprised by how polarizing. I didn't think it would be that bad on Twitter.
Oh, I did.
It was. It's a lot, but we'll see what he can do. They believe in him. I'm not paid to evaluate quarterbacks. I don't think he's as bad as some people think, but it'll be interesting to see how he translates.
Well, Joe, I mean, I will say that we anticipated a Titans trade with the Arizona Cardinals to go draft a quarterback for a long time now. So, I mean, I guess we were always right all along.
It happened. It had to happen one way or another. Yeah, the Titans did trade up to the Cardinals to get a quarterback.
They did.
Look, personally, guys, I think he's going to be amazing. And we'll be back on WHMR.
There is one part of this that really has nothing to do with Will Levis himself that bothers me about this pick, and we'll get into that. Take your reaction to the Will Levis pick coming up next. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
The crowd is standing on its feet. It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament, benefiting Souls for Souls, June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs.
See the ball.
Support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. Sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Breaking Benjamin. Live in concert in Franklin. With special guests, Bush. And Another Day Dawns. This Wednesday at First Bank Amphitheater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. For more, visit breakingbenjamin.com. Get tickets now.
She would do anything for you. She's your biggest fan. She's your mom. And mom turned upside down spells wow. So give her a day full of wows this Mother's Day, starting with an incredible gift from the Diamond Seller. Hi, it's Alex Johnson from the Diamond Seller. From classic diamond jewelry to luxury pieces from our world-class designers, we have the perfect gifts for every mom, stepmom, or grandmother. Show her how much you care with something she really wants, but would never buy herself. Visit us at the Diamond Seller in Green Hills. The possibilities are endless.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention veterans, active duty military, civilians, and contractors. If you were issued earplugs between 1999 and 2015 and were diagnosed with hearing loss or ringing in the ears, you may be entitled to compensation. The manufacturer of these military earplugs recently paid $9.1 million to resolve claims that their earplugs were defective, potentially exposing service members to damaging sound levels that could have resulted in hearing loss or tinnitus. If you or a loved one were issued earplugs and were diagnosed with tinnitus or hearing loss, don't wait. You fought for this country, and our attorneys want to fight for you. Call 800-725-0565 now for a free legal consultation and to see if you may be eligible to file a claim. Time restrictions may apply, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. So call 800-725-0565 now. Again, 800-725-0565. That's 800-725-0565.
Baseball, basketball, pickleball. Those are sports, and people love sports. If you love sports, you should know this. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive could save hundreds. Does saving have anything to do with sports? No, but people love sports, so I'm yelling sports out. Hockey, swimming, golf. Not all sports have the word ball in there, so save big when you switch to Progressive. Go sports teams!
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio. Brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. The Titans move up in the second round, and they draft Will Levis at quarterback out of the University of Kentucky. We'll be taking your thoughts on that all show long, 615-737-1025. So, Joe, I said there's one part of this that really kind of bothers me about this pick, and it has nothing to do with Will Levis himself. Like, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Will Levis and what he did at Kentucky and what people think of the pick, and all that's fine. There's one part of this that bothers me, and you brought it up in the last segment, and that is, we've talked about quarterback and the Titans for a few months now, and one thing that we've been pretty consistent on is, like, if you believe that he's the guy, and you believe that whether it was Richardson or Stroud or Levis or whoever it was, that if they're the guy that's going to be your guy moving forward, it can be your quarterback, it can help you compete with the Joe Burrows and the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens of the AFC, then you go get him. Like you do, whether it's moving up from 11 to 3 or whatever it takes, you go get the quarterback if that's the case. And I look at the way this played out, and like if you're from the Titans' point of view, you could sell it pretty well, right? It's like, well, we took Peter Skoronski at number 11 because he was the best player on our board, and we shored up the offensive line there, and then we got Will Levis, the quarterback that we wanted all along, at 33. And that sounds great. But like to me, it goes back to, like, if you really believe that Will Levis is good enough to be one of those guys and is good enough to be your franchise quarterback moving forward, why didn't you take him at 11? Like, I understand it worked out and that they they moved back up and go get him at 33. But, like, when you passed on him at 11, there was no guarantee whatsoever that he was going to land in your lap again after that. Like, there's no way to me that the Titans could have known that he was going to slide out of the first round or that somebody else wasn't going to jump back up to go get him. And look, there were reports that Tom Pelissero put out on Friday, the Titans, among other teams, trying to trade back into the first round to go get what I presume to be Will Levis. So I'm not saying that the Titans just woke up Friday morning and was like, okay, Will Levis is still there. We'll go get him. But, like, to me, if you really believe he's your guy and you think that he can be your franchise quarterback, why did you pass on him on 11? That's the part of this that really bothers me about this pick.
Yeah, it's fair. And, I mean, I guess the big board said what it said, and they did it. But yeah, it's the same thing with receiver in this draft. The big board, I do believe in that as a strategy and in not reaching for need. But I do think quarterback's a little different. And frankly, I mean, I think at times, when your need is so severe at some spot, I think it's okay to be like, hey, big board, you know what? I hear you, but it's not too far away. So we're going to go this position instead. And yeah, it's a great question. Jim Irsay said that they would have taken Levis at 4. Had Richardson not been there. So Richardson, their board was Richardson and then Levis. It sounds like the Titans, because remember the Titans still could have tried to get in there to get Richardson. They withdrew. And then of course the Texans got 3 and they got Will Anderson. It sounds like the Titans was Stroud, Levis. So it's interesting because there's 2 teams where it appears their quarterback rankings had Levis second, and yet there he went all the way into the second round. Now granted, I mean, once you start the free fall, there's a lot of teams that aren't quarterback needy and all that. And I don't know, like you said, there's reporting that they did try to get back into the first, but yeah, it's like, so this is our guy for the future that we're glad somehow dropped to us, and we got him in the second round.
Right. Like, I'm not saying that you can't, we've talked about it all the time, right? Like, they're second round quarterbacks. I mean, Jalen Hurts just went to the Super Bowl, and by the way, good Lord, did they load up over the weekend. We'll get into that at some point too. But I mean, Russell Wilson was drafted in the 3rd round. I mean, Brady is in the 6th round. I'm not saying you can't find that guy in the 2nd round. I'm just saying, like, if you're the Titans and you truly believed that Levis is your guy and he's your franchise quarterback and that he's the answer, he's sitting there right for you at 11. Why didn't you take him?
Right. Now you can sit there and say, like, boom, we got a 10-year outstanding, they believe, and a lot of people believe, outstanding offensive lineman and him.
Right.
Great. But, yeah, what are you saying? What does that say? So it's also like, so you went with the board. And that's, again, when they took Skoronski, I was like, okay, well, then what they're thinking is that this year, how many times have we talked about the fork in the road? One path or the other, right? Quarterback path, you're basically rebuilding, or non-quarterback path, you're trying to have the best possible 23 you can have. As soon as they took Skoronski, I'm like, okay, well, there you go. They're after they couldn't get Stroud. So they tried to get Stroud to be the rebuilding team. Failed, took Skoronski and said, no, we're not the rebuilding team. Then they took Levis and said, yes, we are the rebuilding team.
Right.
So it's, but like, obviously, had they not, had Levis been, and he could have been drafted by Seattle, somewhere in there. I mean, like a Minnesota or some team could have taken him to kind of be the heir apparent, just like the Titans. Then I guess you just would have gone on the path of trying to be good this year, I guess. Would you have taken a receiver then?
Maybe, I guess. Keith on the text line with a good question says, I mean, couldn't you say that about every pick that didn't go in the first round? See, I don't think so. I think quarterback's different. I think
he was projected top half of the first
he's
round.
Projected
the 3rd round picks aren't projected as first round
right.
picks.
Like even I think to a certain degree, like even the Hooker situation's a little bit different, although he slid further than I thought he would. But like everybody thought that Hooker was going to go maybe at the back part of the first round, but certainly in the second round. And he ended up going third round. I get that. But my point is, like, if you're the Titans and you love Will Levis and you think that he is your answer at quarterback for the next 10 years, like, they played a heck of a game to not take him at 11 if that's what they believed. That's my point. Like, if they believe that he's truly the answer and they didn't take him at 11, that's a heck of a risk to then try to move back up later and hope that somebody else doesn't take him in the draft. That's my only point.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't see how you could be confident it was going to work out for you. Like, I mean, all these teams also try to do intel on the other teams and have an idea of who has what needs, what have they heard, this and that. How could they be like confident? Like, you know what, we let him go here, we're going to be able to come up and get him.
Right.
It worked out, but I don't know how you could know that. I mean, look, everybody, and I understand there's a separation between media and people in the actual NFL, but there's still a whole bunch of interaction, and there's not one media person, including people who closely cover this draft, NFL insiders, whoever you want, who thought Will Levis was not going to be picked Thursday night in Kansas City, which is why the cameras were on him all night and his family. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, that's part of it that, I mean, has nothing to do with Will Levis himself. That is just a huge question of mine coming out of the draft. Because, I mean, look, to me, I mean, this is Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel, to a certain degree, have now tied themselves to Will Levis and how that pick works out. It's different. I get it. It is different from moving up from 11 to 3 and trading all these assets away to go get the quarterback at that spot. But it is still a guy that you're taking, that you're moving up for at the top of the second round, that's going to be your quarterback at some point. And if that pick doesn't work out, a lot of the future of Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are going to be tied to Will Levis and how he does here. So, like, it's a different route to get there, but the end result's kind of the same, right? This is not the same as the Malik Willis pick where they're just taking a flyer on somebody in the third round. They've drafted Will Levis to be their franchise quarterback of the future.
Yeah. So Rand Carthon starts the clock. You know, this is your choice. But to me, I'm with you. I think with everything. I saw people getting all mad at Rand over the weekend. I'm like, this is as much Vrabel at least as him on all this stuff, right? I mean, I view all this as those two together. That's what they want, and I think that's what it is.
JC in Goodlettsville on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. In the next Tannehill press conference, who is asking if he will mentor Will Levis? That's from JC.
Well, we made that joke in the Titans room, and I said, no, we need to ask Malik that question.
Yes.
See?
Malik, will you be mentoring Will as he comes in?
Josh from Nashville, what seems to be the issue with Levis? Sounds like everybody thinks the Titans just drafted Jeff George, huge arm talent, but a cocky attitude with no focus. And I said, well, if he had Jeff George's sweet mullet, there would be a lot less complaining. Anybody who doesn't know, Google Jeff George mullet. It's pretty absolutely awesome. Majestic.
So let's open up our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. What do you make of the Titans selecting Will Levis and moving up to do so in the second round? 615-737-1025. We'll continue that discussion next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, you take that. Take me 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You've got a lot of options.
He say, she say. And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman & Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
NBA playoffs rocking and rolling, folks. You can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/Joe102 right now. Place a $5 bet. You get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Got great promotions every day. You got an app that is safe, secure, very important for me. It's easy to use. You get paid instantly. So many fun things you can do. If I was looking at one thing, I will say this. I'm excited for the Warriors-Lakers series. I think I would be looking at the Lakers in game 1. Rested, having handled the Grizzlies, and the Warriors have to be absolutely tapped out after beating Sacramento on the road in Game 7. That game is Tuesday night coming up in Game 1, so I would look at the Lakers in Game 1, Warriors in the series. No better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Go to fan.com/Joe102. Sign up, get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA, and you must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is now withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Attention buckaroos, it's time for the Franklin Rodeo. So saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede from May 18th to May 20th. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Ram Rodeo, Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Williamson Health, Event 1FX, and Wesley Mortgage. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
Want to enter the construction field as a career? Make good money and finish with no debt and earn while you learn. Average starting salary over $18 an hour. First year of college averages $10,000. 4 years of our Construction Trades Academy, a total of $8,000 to $9,600. Applications are open with first-year scholarships available. CTANash.com. ABC Greater Tennessee Construction Trades Academy. Apply today. CTANash.com.
You enjoy the thrill of gambling, but what happens when it becomes a problem? Whether you want to cut back or quit gambling altogether, the Gambling Clinic has been helping people change their gambling for over 2 decades. We're here to help, not to judge. The Gambling Clinic is a Tennessee-based clinic offering in-person and telehealth support to help people win back their life. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
312 Pizza Company is your spot for the best Chicago-style eats right here in Nashville. From thin crust pizza to deep dish pizza to Italian beef sandwiches and Chicago dogs. Doesn't get much better than that. Until now. 312 Pizza Company is now serving up their award-winning pizza by the slice. All day, every day. Don't have time to wait for a full pie? No problem. Get a slice instead. Order a full pie but want a little more? Add another slice. Do it. Honestly, just go get a slice. 312 Pizza Company. Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria. Go get a slice.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Where did you end up watching the draft tonight, Will, and maybe what went into that after all the pomp and circumstance last night? What was tonight like?
It was crazy. We had a big family gathering planned tomorrow morning. Like, obviously, was thinking there was a good shot that I would go yesterday. So the only reason I didn't stay is because I couldn't get back home in time if I were to have left tomorrow. So ended up coming back today. The flight was supposed to be at 9. It ended up taking off until about 12. Traffic on the way home from Newark. I live in Connecticut. I literally walked through the door as my name got called. And all my bags, all of our luggage. I don't know. There'll probably be some videos at some point that my parents took of me when I got the call. When I was a crying mess, but it was so funny. We're all in our airport clothes and very different atmosphere compared to everyone getting dressed up with the nice suits and dresses last night. But I mean, this is what was meant to be, and I was ecstatic to get the call.
That was new Tennessee Titans quarterback Will Levis after being drafted by the Titans over the weekend, discussing his weekend. Obviously did not get drafted Thursday and made the commute home on Friday. Took a little bit longer than he anticipated, but Will Levis is a Tennessee Titan at the end of the day. We're taking your reaction to that on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Liam on the text line says, as a non-Vols Titans fan, I agree, Joe. It feels like great value. We got 2 top 10 guys celebrating with a nice dollop of mayo in my Diet Coke since I can't stand coffee. This is from Liam on the text line. Ben says, I can't complain about anything that has a chance of being better than Tannehill. even at Tannehill's peak, we've seen him not be good enough in the playoffs. This from Ben on the text line. So some support for Will Levis early on the text line.
Yeah, well, on the Tannehill thing, you have seen Tannehill win 2 playoff games. I mean, I know we can go around and around on that too. And you've seen Tannehill in 19 and 20 set a standard of quarterback play for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, I asked this in written form today. Like, when's the next time the Tennessee Titans will have quarterback play that can rise to the level of what Tannehill gave this team in 19 and 20? And of course, when he did that, he had way better support around him than he had, say, last season.
Yeah.
But, the funny thing is, too, I think Tannehill is a pretty good comp for Levis, just in terms of.
Which is going to drive some Titans fans nuts when you say that. But I agree.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say actually Tannehill a little bit better athlete. Again, Tannehill, talking about a college receiver, and yes, great jokes over the weekend. And hey, man, I don't know. Maybe Tannehill needs to go back to receiver now. They need receivers.
He might legitimately be wide receiver 3 on this team right now if he does.
But yeah, they kind of, and even like when we were talking to Levis Friday night, I had some Tannehill, some Tannehill vibes. I mean, like, he was great. He was really good talking to us about everything. The Levis hatred is, I've been trying to figure this out because, yes, there's the Vols aspect of it for sure. But, I mean, for example, I don't know if you've seen this. I had never seen this before. I don't know if Vol Twitter came up with this. Have you seen Billie Jeans?
No.
So William, and then Levis, which, of course, when you read it, it could be like Levi's,
yeah.
Right? So some people calling him Billie Jeans. Billie Jeans is not my quarterback.
Oh, I kind of like that. That's pretty good. No, I had not seen that before.
That's pretty good. And I think some of the hatred, I've been trying to think of it, because like all year when just forget about the Titans with Levis. I mean, how many times have we joked about Levis, and Michelle's in the room and like, stop joking about Levis. You're being a little bit too mean to Levis.
Yeah.
But why? Like, why does everybody have the impulse? I do think that I think he has a brashness that people really dislike. And honestly, I think that his, like, those TikTok videos with the coffee and the bananas, I think that fed into that. Like,
I do too. Now look
at pretty boy without his shirt on.
I think some people have taken that a little too far. Like, I don't think that has anything to do with playing quarterback, which is really the only thing that matters here. But I agree that has some of that is like, oh, you're just eating bananas with peels on and the mayo and the coffee and the shirtless selfies and all that other stuff. I think that has probably fed into it a little bit.
And then for the specific Vols fans who follow obviously everything closely, seen some of the stuff he said. I mean, even this year, he made the little, took the little shot about real football, comparing their offense to Tennessee's. But go back to last year in that amazing game when he was great. I mean, both teams, he threw the bad pick. But both, that was an amazing game. What, it was a 45-42 Tennessee?
Yep.
I mean, some of his antics in that game on the sideline, he's brash. He's in your face. He is, of all these quarterbacks now in this division, he may be the 4th best. He may be the best. Who knows how it'll turn out? He's certainly going to be the most hated by the opponent because right? Like that's kind of how he goes about his business. He talks some trash. So I think Titans fans will eventually love that if he's good.
Correct.
Right? They'll totally love it. But I think that when he was on the other side of you, again, I think the Vols fans thing is definitely a big part of this. You hated his guts.
Yeah, like I think that's a big part of it. I mean, for me, really the whole time for me, it's been as simple as, God, he throws some bad picks. Like, that's what it is.
Right.
Like, he throws some horrible interceptions. Now, the question now is, can you coach that out of him? Because, look, I'm not blind. I can see the talent that he has. I can see the arm that he has. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon back there. So I think if you deny that, then you're not really paying attention to what he is. But there's more to that than playing quarterback, as we've seen throughout countless examples in NFL history. So, can you put that part of it together and take care of the football? Like, that's going to be my biggest question for him as they move forward here. Glenn from Greenbrier on the text line says, Vols fans are mad because the Titans didn't draft Hooker What a miserable fan base. This is from Glenn on the text line. Dave from Arkansas says, I don't see why people are so negative on Levis. They want those other quarterbacks who don't really run our system. They must have forgotten how Mariota transitioned to the NFL. Levis led Kentucky to a 10-win season 2 seasons ago. That's impressive to me. This is from David in Arkansas on the text line. And there is the system part of this where it is a similar system going from Kentucky to the Titans.
Yeah, and that's fine, but that all that really means is that early on you may have a little bit less of a learning curve. You can find a whole bunch of quarterbacks who play the same system, and you don't want to be your quarterback. I mean, I want the best quarterback, like Hooker. Like, look, I ranked Hooker ahead of Levis, and I think Hooker may end up being better than Levis. Now, Hooker is going to have some time, of course, with the Lions, and so from that perspective, it's a good situation. But look, I mean, Hooker was the best player in college football last year for a stretch. Look, I do buy into. Michelle has said it. Junnie has said it. I think there's some truth to it. Okay, let's switch up the conditions. Stroud, Young, Hooker. Okay, let's put them in behind an awful offensive line with no great receivers anymore. Running back who played half the year because he was in trouble, and an OC that clearly he got fired before the season ended. So obviously the OC was not very liked. He did not have the same impact positively that Liam Cohen did. Put all those guys in that situation. Put Levis in some of those situations. Clean pockets, pros running all over the place at receiver, et cetera, et cetera. Are the results different? I would say yes. I would also say, to your point, Robbie, this is where it's just going to be fascinating. He does seem to be a little late. And that's what Dane Brugler's analysis was. It's not quite trust himself, and then he's a half second late, and then it's a killer mistake, right? How much did that have to do with conditions? He still threw 13 picks. Let's remember.
That's the thing. We got to stop with the conditions thing, too, because I understand the conditions. Everybody was going nuts about that. He threw 13 picks the year before when all these conditions were better. So it's not like the turnovers are a new thing. That's the one part of this that's driven me nuts about this conversation.
Yeah. I mean, 23 picks, 13 of them were in that really good year. Now, again, the year other than that was very good. He had great numbers, yards per attempt. All that stuff was really good. They won. So, like, even amid those picks, it was like, shoot, man, he could be like QB1 potentially. Some people were saying that.
Sure.
But, yeah, the picks were not just in the bad year. They were actually worse in the good year.
Uncle Fingus on the text line says they're setting Levis up for failure. Do you really think the receiving core is going to be any better by next year when the time he'll be starting? Or if some reason he has to start this year, it'll be a disaster, even if he has all the potential in the world? This is from Uncle Fingus on the text line.
Well, Uncle Fingus, if they lose enough this year, the receiving core next year could have Marvin Harrison.
It could get a drastic
star for Marv.
It could be a drastic improvement. We'll take more of your thoughts on Will Levis being drafted by the Titans. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025. What do you make of that pick for the Titans? And what do you make of them trading up in the second round in order to get it? More of that coming up next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The choice is yours. Wednesdays at 8:45. Brought to you by Jarrett Companies. Now hiring experienced sprinkler experts. Go to jarrettfire.com. JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, a company above and beyond industry standards.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
The Beach Boys. Live in concert. May 25th, 26th, and 27th at Schermerhorn Symphony Center. Performing with the Nashville Symphony. The Beach Boys return to the stage. Tickets on sale now at NashvilleSymphony.org. Don't miss the Beach Boys live with the Nashville Symphony.
Hi, this is Jamie from Souls for Souls. I hope you can join us on June 7th at Hermitage Golf Course for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. We've partnered with 102.5 The Game to provide shoes to students experiencing homelessness right here in Nashville. Go to thegamenashville.com for more information and to register.
Get in zone, AutoZone. Welcome to AutoZone, America's #1 brakes destination. We have the pads, rotors, drums, shoes, and brake fluids to improve your stopping power. Right now, save 15% when you get any 2 Duralast rotors with the set of Duralast brake pads. Missing a tool? Ask about our free Loan-A-Tool program and borrow the tools you need to get the job done. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Claim based on data from the MPD Group 2021. Deposit required for Loan-A-Tool.
I switched to Boost Mobile and got a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone. Want to know the best part?
It was free?
Nope.
The fact that it's on America's largest 5G networks?
Nope. It's the ding.
Oh yeah, love the ding.
Right? It's all about the ding. It's the dingarooski, the dingaroner, the ring-a-ding-ding.
Unleash your power to save with Boost. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A23 5G phone when you switch. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power.
And the ding.
Limited time offer. New customers only. Available on select networks. 5G not available everywhere. One device per line. Tax excluded. Additional restrictions apply. See your local Boost Mobile store for details.
They're homegrown in Nashville, discussing the biggest topics in the SEC.
The fans are going to want the rivalries to stick around. They've lost to Alabama every year.
The NFL.
What if all the top 3 quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3? You've got to draft your guy at 2.
And anything in between.
From thinking we know everything to then forgetting about everything we thought we knew the day before.
They're Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow on Outkick's Hot Mic.
Out of the gates, ready to go.
Weekdays from 2 to 5 on 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and The Game Nashville app.
You talk about, bringing these QBs in for top 30 visits, getting them in front of you, and really diving into the person that the quarterback is. What did you see in Will when he came into this building that gives you guys confidence in moving up to grab him?
Will's a diligent worker, extremely smart, extremely bright, puts a lot of the time in, to be a good quarterback. So you appreciate, his ability to pick up concepts and things quickly. And just who he is, he's hardwired, he's tough. And his most recent offensive coordinator, Rich Scangarello, I had experience with in San Francisco, so kind of knew how he operated within that system. And then when we brought him here, our coaches and our scouting staff, we had good interactions with him, so it just, made it easy for us.
That was Rand Carthon over the weekend discussing Will Levis, latest quarterback drafted by the Tennessee Titans. We're taking your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, helping home buyers and sellers in Middle Tennessee for 20 years. So, Joe, there's lots of thoughts kind of all over the place about the Will Levis decision for the Titans to draft him. I will say, for the first hour today, at least on the text line, I would say way more people either excited / defending the Will Levis selection than the other way around, which is somewhat surprising to me based on what I saw on Twitter so far over the weekend.
Well, we talked about this before, too.
We did.
There will be a talking yourself into it period. At some point, it's like, I guess you can switch to the Lions if you like. Good luck with that. But if not, look, there are reasons, there are things about Will Levis that tell you that it could work out, man.
Sure.
I don't know if it will, but there's also this from LD, from McMinnville. First of all, he has the roll the dice, play the board, famous Rand Carthon quote from the draft. But here's LD on the – says, my dad, 77, didn't watch the draft, so I broke it down for him. In order, T-Rex arms, mayonnaise man, no knees McGee, no pick, a guy who fights the ball instead of catching it, a dude who may or may not like ball, and someone whose main competition was my Tennessee Tech.
Yes.
So there you go. That's some excellent complaining in one quick graph. Good job, LD.
Very well done. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Jeremiah from Nashville. Jeremiah, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, guys. I know hindsight's 20/20, but I just wanted to say this. Garanti's a great player. We all know that, but I believe exactly what you guys said. We should have took Will Levis with our first pick. Even if we traded back in the first round, got some more picks, and still took Levis, you know, like you said, you got to go get your guy. And the thing is, we could have taken Osiris Torrance in the second round, got our left guard. And when we made that trade with Arizona from pick 72 that we originally had to pick 81, 3 receivers were taken: Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, and Josh Downs. And Tank Dell was taken a few picks before pick 72. So we literally missed out on getting the receiver that we desperately needed. And I think if we would have just stuck to picking Levis first, then we would have had basically like a complete draft that we needed. And that's all, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep, thanks for the call, Jeremiah.
I got one issue with that.
Okay.
He said, yeah, trade back. Okay. Who was trying to get into 11 and why? I mean, that's the problem. I mean, okay, trade back. Well, if someone was coming to 11, they were coming to 11 to get Will Levis.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, we don't know the Titans didn't try to trade back, and they may have just not had a partner.
Exactly. Right. So, like, I hear you. Look, going in, if they can trade back and get more picks, they need more players. They need more volume. But usually, not always. Obviously, the Texans ended up they were going to trade up to get Stroud at 5. Well, they ended up having to switch because they realized they needed to take Stroud at 2, so they traded up to get Will Anderson. But usually, especially higher in the draft, those trade ups or the trading back is when someone wants to come into your spot to get a quarterback. I mean, it wasn't there for them. So that part of it, but you're right. I'm absolutely right. And we said it earlier on the show, those receivers, I bet you the board had at least one of those guys and probably a couple of those guys higher than Tyjae Spears. And they get a starting receiver in the 70s. And with the trade back, they don't get a starting receiver in this draft. Which they desperately needed.
Oh, for sure. Herb and Bowling Green on the text line says, there are a lot of us here that are Wildcat and Titans fans that love the pick. You're making this too complicated. Rand and Mike were 100% sure they needed a prime offensive lineman and 90% sure Levis would be a good quarterback. Levis is a Vrabel type of guy. This is from Herb in Kentucky on the text line.
I agree that I think Levis, having talked to him Friday night for really the first time, you know, you see sound clips in here and there. And again, you see him and it's like, man, that kid's pretty cocky, you know, and look at this TikTok video. But I will say an extended interview with him Friday night. I'm like, I came away from that saying, yep, I'm not surprised. Vrabel, love that kid. Here's what I would ask of Kentucky fans, because obviously you root for your quarterback to do well in the NFL. You know, recruiting can be helped when your quarterbacks do well in the NFL. But Kentucky fans, were they all year long just like, nah, none of it's Levis's fault. It's everybody else. Because he did throw 23 picks the last 2 years. Are Kentucky fans unanimous and Will Levis is amazing, he's awesome, people just don't get it? Or is there any Kentucky fans who are like, wow, maybe this guy isn't as good as some people think?
I don't know. I mean, it's a great question.
Answer it.
Go ahead.
I think it was the season before Kentucky hadn't had a season. They did have the 2018 season, but they haven't had a quarterback like that since
Tim Couch?
Yeah, in forever.
Oh, no, the lefty, Jared Lorenzen, man.
But, him coming in and actually they had a wide receiver at quarterback, Lynn Bowden, a couple of years before, and Terry Touchdown, he broke his leg. They haven't had a guy like this in so long. And I think it was easy to kind of put the blinders up with the picks because the team was winning the year before. And then the just huge drop off, it was okay, blame the offensive coordinator, blame the O-line, blame the wide receivers. And it was the team isn't going to be good. So I think the fact that he did so much for the program the year before, yes, he threw picks. He wasn't great, but they were winning is an easy way for them to kind of look at that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Kentucky fans, but that's how I kind of viewed it in the gauge I got from other people.
So you think he's amazing?
I did not say that, Rex. Also, Joe didn't show up to work today, and he totally on air said if the Tennessee Titans don't draft 2 pass catchers in the 2nd and 3rd round, he would eat mayo and coffee. So don't act like I forgot it.
You tell me what segment. See this delicious line. I'm hoping that the mayo is like hydrochloric acid and dissolves this Lion's coffee mug. So you just tell me. You say, well, I'll bring my Duke's thing up here. I knew I had to be close to the mayo today.
Well, the interesting part about the Levis thing, from like just a statistical standpoint, right? Like everybody talks about how bad that offense was this year. He had more yards per attempt this year. He threw less picks this year than he did the year before. He was 400 yards away from throwing as many yards, and he played in 2 less games. Like, I mean,
and he was hurt. He was injured.
The stats are way closer than people think they are.
So if you want to spin it his way, what you could say is he actually made progress despite the conditions. What if he had last year's conditions? What would it have been like? What if he didn't have a toe injury that basically took the running, the QB run stuff away from him, which was very effective the year before? I mean, you could spin it that way for sure. Again, for me, I watched him closely twice.
Yep.
Well, I watched the Florida game too, and he was good in that game. He was better than Richardson. But the 2 games I really watched, and one in person, was the Tennessee and the Vanderbilt games. By the way, William from Madison, because Vanderbilt fans should have a voice today. So with all the Kentucky talk today, I'd like to point out Vanderbilt sweeps Kentucky 6-1 against Kentucky in football, basketball, and baseball.
Thank you,
it's a
William.
school calendar year. So Vanderbilt fans get a W too.
Thank you, William.
But I mean, that's again for me, and I've said that many times as we talked about Levis leading up to the draft and praying for this day to come. It's just like, man, he was so bad that night. They were so bad. They were overwhelmed by Tennessee's defense, which a couple weeks later went to South Carolina and could have been like a 12U flag football team. So makes sense of that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's just college football too. I mean, look.
Yes.
I watched a fair bit of Levis last year. Obviously, the Tennessee and the Vanderbilt game I watched, but the Ole Miss game, I mean, where he fumbled the ball too. Like, the turnovers, you got to find a way to, especially in big moments, not let those happen. Now, just because he did some of that at the college level, I mean, the question now is, can you coach him out of that at the NFL level? Like, can with Mike Vrabel and Charles London, who, by the way, has become very important in this building, now that Will Levis has been drafted with Charles London in there, like, can they find a way to develop him? Because, again, I've always said this, he's got a huge arm, and he's got ability. I've never denied that. But can he put that part of it together, and can they develop him into, yes, you've got the big arm, yes, you can make every throw, can you make better decisions? Like, that's what's going to have to be the focal point for the Titans as they sit here and try to develop him. And look, it's going to be interesting now to see how they handle him this year. I mean, obviously, I think you and I would both agree that he will be ahead of Malik Willis on the depth chart by the time training camp rolls around. That would be my guess.
Apparently not.
At this point, but we'll see how
he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
What's Malik think? He's just going to come in and lay down?
I don't know. But if he's not ahead of Malik Willis, that would be interesting. But
yeah, it would be.
That would be very interesting. But I'm interested to see how they handle that. Like, is there a point? I just assume that Tannehill's going to start and that Will Levis is going to spend a year learning behind Ryan Tannehill, and then when 2024 rolls around, it'll be Will Levis' show, and he'll be the quarterback. Is that the way they're thinking? Is that the way that they're thinking the whole year? Or does that change by, like, game 4? That part of it's going to be really interesting to me, too.
Hey, you can make the case to release Tannehill right now.
That's what I'm saying, and some people have made that case over the weekend. We'll get into all that coming up next. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get into that. We'll also take a look at the rest of the Titans draft, including a gigantic hole still left on their roster. We'll get into all that next, too. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All the big plays.
Tannehill, entering right up the middle, touchdown, Tennessee.
All the big stories.
The Titans' window to contend is however long Derrick Henry stays Derrick Henry.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Gets it back and scores.
Our execution was good.
They have not found their groove.
It's always great to win in this league. It's tough to win.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Laying waste to your town. Mastodon. Gojira. The Mega Monsters Tour. This Tuesday night at Nashville Municipal Auditorium. With special guest, Lord Ashore. Tickets on sale now at LiveNation.com. Total sensory overload. Mastodon and Gojira.
Arthritis and rheumatic conditions are leading causes of disabilities among adults. Joint replacement could be the solution. The team at Houston Clinic Orthopedics approaches each case with a complete evaluation to see if surgery is right for you. Houston Clinic Orthopedics specializes in arthritis, hip, knee, and shoulder replacements, hip fractures, osteoarthritis of the hip, and joint pain. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all physicians, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Hey, Ray Jeter here with Harness. Are you looking to take ownership in a position that will support your growth and development? We are an excavation and site utilities contractor. Several things set us apart from our competition, but we take the most pride in the professional development of our people. We have multiple openings for operators, pipe layers, and laborers. Our pay and benefits are second to none, including our 401k program. Apply today at selectharness.com. Harness LLC. Build people, move dirt.
I'm Michelle Knezovic. The Tennessee Titans have their 2023 draft class. Peter Skoronski, Will Levis, Tajay Spears, Josh Weil, Jalen Duncan, and Colton Dowell. Here was Rand Carthon on drafting all offensive players in this year's draft.
It honestly just dawned on me about 30 minutes ago that it was all offense. We were just playing the board, and every time you came up at a pick, you know, I guess the way it was stacked and it was ranked, your eyes went to the left, you know, and the way our board is constructed. And healthy conversation on every pick. And everyone that we took off the board, at wherever we took them, we felt convicted. It just so happened to be all offense, but it wasn't a design plan or anything.
The Los Angeles Lakers knocked out the Memphis Grizzlies this weekend, and the Warriors survived the Sacramento Kings in Game 7 last night. The two will meet up for a Tuesday night matchup, and the Boston Bruins are out of the NHL playoffs, along with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche. This report is presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Robby and Rexrode. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Base.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Cranks it, he scores.
On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Welcome back in. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning discussing the 2023 draft class for the Tennessee Titans, including Will Levis taken in the second round. Lots of strong opinions on him already. We'll take more of your thoughts. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Dustin in Hopkinsville texting in says, go back not last year but the year before. For instance, the Tennessee-Kentucky game. Levis actually had an offensive line. It was a dogfight, and the dogs were the quarterbacks, talking about Hooker and Levis in that game. The dude's vein in his bicep is bigger than most of the texters' Twitter fingers. Tough. A cannon, you can't teach that stuff. You can teach footwork and decision-making. Cats, cats, cats. This from Dustin on the text line. To which my response was, I mean, you can also go back to the same game and highlight the biggest concern to me with Will Levis, which is an absolutely atrocious interception he threw, which was the difference in that game. And that's kind of the microcosm of where they're at right now, trying to figure out exactly what he is.
Yep, that's exactly right. And, as far as teaching decision-making, I mean, certainly you can do a lot. Again, I think that, but in some cases, it's just, I think that the S2 score is promising. I mean, if we've been talking about S2, let's keep talking about S2. That's a promising sign, because sometimes to me it just seems like he just waits a little bit too long. That's what I've seen without going through every snap like so many people did. But the competitive, yeah, I have to get hashtag Joe's Film Room going. But the competitive toughness, and I don't know, like, speaking of that, like, what does Jared think about this? I've muted him on Twitter, so I have no idea. What is Jared like this or no?
I don't know. That's a good question. I need to go look.
But the competitive toughness, that's the term that Dane Brugler used when he talked about Levis. It's funny because he said that we talked about Tannehill. I like his comparison too, which I know some people are going to be like, oh no, stop it. But his comparison is, he said good and bad. There's Carson Wentz when you watch Will Levis. And remember, Carson Wentz was on his way to an MVP season before he tore up his knee a few years ago. He came into Nissan. The Titans won this amazing game. Corey Davis catching the touchdown pass in overtime. He was a problem for people. And then, of course, talk about Mr. Death Pick. So there are some comparisons you don't want to hold up over time, but there's some good things about that too.
What do you think this all means for Ryan Tannehill? Because I think, to me, like, the best case scenario for Tannehill in a Titans uniform is he plays out this year and he's the starting quarterback all year, and then they kind of go their separate ways after that. Like, I with Levis being drafted, I no longer see a scenario where Ryan Tannehill is here past this season. My question is, like, could he be gone before that? What do you think all this means for Tannehill?
I think he's going to be here and play it out, and I think that's what you should want if you're the Titans. You don't put the rookie right out there. You have a good, whether he wants to call it mentoring or not, you have a really good quarterback veteran who can he can observe, work with them, and I think Tannehill will be a pro about that. He was a pro about that with Malik Willis last year. He'll be a pro about it now. And then, yeah, I think it's – and the thing is, if you had just taken a receiver and, in a prominent spot in this draft, you could much easier, like, make the case for this team to be interesting, to maybe be quite a bit better than some people think. I mean, I still think the offensive line could be way better. Yep. We'll see. I don't know that it will be, but it could be. It's way different. It's younger and more athletic. But without that, it's like, gosh, it's kind of a swan song for Tannehill and Henry, and it might be kind of a sad one, So you could make the case. I wouldn't make this case, but you can to cut Tannehill, and you're going to end up, I mean, that will ultimately, there's dead money, but I mean, it's about what, 17, 18 million in cap space that you get.
Yep.
And you can roll that next year, and you can go to Levis and Willis and have them compete. And frankly, that probably means that. So there's an interest level from fans just to see probably Levis, the young quarterback. And then there's also a high likelihood you're going to lose so much that you're going to be high in the draft next year. And then you have all the cap space. Someone on the text line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, made the good point of, the cap space, that the cap space next year, the free agent market, Darcy on the text line, the free agent market next year, you could have people like Curtis Samuel, Judy, Higgins, Boyd, Ridley, and the Titans will be able to go get a proven receiver potentially. Like next year, you could really make some big moves with all the cap space that's opening up. But do you want that to be this season? And to me, do you want Levis to be just thrown out there right away?
Yeah,
I know that he's played in the offense, but still.
That's a great question.
I think sitting is still better for any rookie quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and I think a decision that Carthon and Vrabel now have to make. Like, it's one thing to, be covering all your bases before the draft. And, we've talked about with Charles, the interest level in Ryan Tannehill, and the Titans maybe checking in on that around the league. It's one thing to do that before the draft, before you know for sure you have the quarterback. Now that you have a quarterback for the future, how does that influence the way that Carthon and Vrabel look at it right now? And beyond that, like for Tannehill, if they wanted to trade him, is there anybody that would take him at this point and would want to make a deal for him, or would it be what you just said, as simple as you'd have to cut him if you're the Titans at that point? I don't know what the answer to that is, but it's the equation certainly is now different now that you actually have the quarterback. And I go back to what we talked about with Charles, over the past few weeks of, the Titans maybe checking in for other teams about interest level in Tannehill. What does that now mean now that the draft is done? Lamar Jackson is back in Baltimore. Aaron Rodgers is with the Jets. Is there a landing spot for Ryan Tannehill at this point?
Yeah, I can't see one. I went through and today at the Athletic, I ranked all the quarterbacks because I wanted to basically just kind of go through the various different points that really good quarterbacks have been found. And by the way, six of the top 18 went lower than Levis did in the draft, which is interesting. Then that would include Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, Jimmy G. All those guys went lower than Levis, and they are good. Also, as I do that listing,
Brock Purdy,
you're going through. Well, certainly, but he's not top 18. He's not top 18. There's others later in the draft, later in the listing too.
Sure.
But as I go through it, I mean, the only team that I could really come up with at this point would be. I mean, look, I suppose you could talk about Atlanta. Shoot, I like the Bijan Robinson pick. Man, that's going to be exciting there, right? And I suppose you could talk about Washington. I can't think of anyone else remotely. I mean, the Bucks, they got Baker in there and Trask, and I can't. I mean, I suppose if New England actually does Belichick hate Mac? I can't really see that, but I guess maybe them. I think it's probably going to have to be a cut.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll continue the conversation on Will Levis. We'll get Joe's thoughts on the rest of the Titans draft class coming up next as well, and Joe will pay a debt that he owes to begin next segment as well, which could mean that maybe he's not around at the end of next segment. We'll see how that goes. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let me tell you about the Nashville Predators. Season tickets for the Preds 2023-24 season are on sale now. Preds will be celebrating their 25th anniversary throughout next season. They've got full, half, and quarter season plans that are available. So you can join the Loyal Legion today and receive the best seat locations at the best pricing, up to 50% off discounts on concessions throughout the season, and up to 6 bonus tickets to select games in the 2023-24 season as well. The NHL draft taking place this summer here in Nashville, as well as the awards. You can learn more about all that at NashvillePredators.com/season tickets, NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game has an all-star lineup Monday through Friday. Batting first at 6 a.m., it's Robby and Rexrode.
Yeah, you take that. You take that. Take 80% of that.
Followed by Chase and Michelle at 9.
Couldn't hit the broadside of a barn.
I need my caffeine so much.
Then it's Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace at 11.
Yep, green light, let's go.
You got a lot of options. He say, she say.
And bringing it home at 2, Jared Stillman for Stillman and Company.
That guy will be a good coach.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Imagine her delight when she unwraps a luxurious spa day from A Moment's Peace, the newly remodeled day spa and salon in Cool Springs. Time is running short, but whether you spend a little or go lavish, you can take comfort that your gift will be treasured, your love on display and a smile on her face. Give affordable luxury from A Moment's Peace for mums, dads, and grads in Cool Springs across I-65 from Galleria Mall at the intersection of Carruthers Parkway and Bakersbridge Avenue. Call 224-0770 or click online anytime at momentspeace.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Good morning. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty.
I had the radio on. I'm listening to
102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You before I let you go, will you set the record straight on the mayonnaise? Do you put it in your coffee or no?
No, I mean, it was a stupid thing. I did that I thought was funny. Don't actually do it. I'm a 1 cream, 1 sugar type of guy.
Are you a banana peel eater?
No, again, just another little thing a little stupid thing. But I mean, I'm a football player and looking forward to just focusing on ball here on out.
That was Will Levis over the weekend, answering some capital J journalism questions from Jim Wyatt and Joe Rexrode there. He sounded really excited to discuss those two topics.
Yeah. I have a feeling that's the first time he's been asked about either of those two things.
Yeah.
So he was probably caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
And once he comes to town, we can talk about this over and over again.
Yeah. So the mayonnaise in the coffee was a big talking point on Will Levis heading into the draft process. And Joe, you are now responsible for putting mayonnaise in your coffee this morning. And now is the time that you have selected in order to do this. Are you prepared?
I mean, sure. Yeah. Look, I said I was going to do it, not. so I'll do it. So here's this beautiful Lions coffee.
Makes it better
mug.
that it's in a Lions mug.
So quickly, we will tell the listeners why you're doing this, because on Friday you guaranteed that the Tennessee Titans in round 2 and 3 would draft receivers.
That is correct.
Well, one. I said
one.
Like they will certainly take one receiver. I mean, or I'll do this, and I felt good about it. I mean, seriously,
Felt great
I remember
about
somebody was like, "Don't do that." I'm like, "Don't worry, come on." Of course they're.
I said that.
Yeah,
it was.
So, there we go. So you tell me. All right, I'm going to put the microphone down. You
Please
tell
do.
me. Hold on.
So we've got the mayonnaise being
Oh gosh.
uncorked right now. The spoon is going into the mayonnaise.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's
a
fine.
pretty good dollop that he's got associated there. There's immediate regret on the face of Rexrode as he's placing this dollop into the coffee, stirring these things around in a Detroit Lions cup. And now, as we build anticipation here, the moment of truth has arrived. The mayonnaise is in the coffee, and Joe Rexrode is prepared to take his sip of mayonnaise and coffee. Joe?
It didn't stir in well. I mean, if I can show you this, I can't really
I told you, Robby.
Dissolve.
It's
it's just a big lump of hell.
Yep.
Okay, hold on.
All righty. The moment of truth.
Whoa.
Up and away.
Oh my. Whoa.
Did he just chug it? Did he just drink the whole thing?
It wasn't that bad.
I am shook.
He drank the whole thing.
It's fine.
Not that bad.
What is this? I don't know. I mean, to me, the coffee kind of overwhelmed the mayo. I'm pleasantly surprised. I really thought I was going to be absolutely mortified by that. What's wrong with me?
Well, maybe we're on to something. Now that he's officially here, we've talked about, the idea of restaurants around Nashville making this a thing. Now that you have, number one, survived, and number two, apparently somewhat enjoyed it, maybe this could be a thing now.
I didn't hate it.
I'm now terrified of you. I am now actually terrified of you, Joe Rexrode.
You can go check that one out on our video stream. By the way, we're streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook, where you can go back and revisit Joe Rexrode's chugging of mayonnaise and coffee there. I'm proud of you, Joe. Way to go.
Mayonnaise.
Maddie.
You need an NIL deal with Duke's Mayo now.
A lot of people talking about maybe getting sick just listening to what just happened here on this program. So, Joe, what do you make of obviously we'll continue the discussion on Will Levis throughout the show here on the program today. What do you make of the entire draft class as a whole for the Titans? Skoronski, number 1, Will Levis, number 2, Spears, the running back out of Tulane, at number 3, which has generated all sorts of discussion over the weekend. Josh Weil from Cincinnati at tight end in round 5. Jalen Duncan, offensive tackle out of Maryland, in round 6, and then Colton Dowell, wide receiver out of UT Martin, baby, in round 7 to close things out. What did you make of the draft class for the Titans?
Yeah, and I meant to. I can't keep up with the text. We got a pop in text line today, but someone made the point. Relative athletic score for Colton Dowell, really, really good, and actually for this class in general, this has been a Colts thing for a while. The RAS, relative athletic score, Chris Ballard has been big on that. This definitely looks like this is a very good RAS draft. And of course, the Colts, so Richardson's a 10.0. But Dowell has really good measurables. He said he ran a 4.41 or 4.40, but anybody who watched the Tennessee UT Martin game last year, he had a big game. So I don't hate that pick in the 7th round, but it's a 7th round pick. I mean, you just, in general, should not be thinking that you are going to get a starter level player in the 7th round. Sometimes it happens. There are always examples of anything that has happened in this draft where you find a gem. But, I don't hate the pick where it was. I do hate that the Titans didn't take a receiver. We've talked about Skoronski. As someone also pointed out, it sounds like they might have had him top 5 on their board, and they may have. I mean, a lot of people were like, "This is flat out the best offensive lineman in the draft." The Spears pick instead of a receiver, very infuriating for people.
Oh yeah.
And then you talk about the injury history, and there's different things on that too. The Titans medical staff, and look, we know the Titans medical staff in a different situation with some COVID limitations at the time. But we know they signed off on Caleb Farley. And some medical staffs, as we talked about at the time, were like, don't get near this kid. So I think it's fair to be skeptical. But I will say this about Spears. Go watch what he did last year. He is electric.
He is.
I don't know what that means. Now what can happen with this was someone if he doesn't have an ACL, and this has happened, Hines Ward's an example of this, NFL player who didn't. But sometimes the clock is faster or shorter on a career. Actually, Sam Phelan for A to Z brought up a good example of Jay Ajayi, right? He had serious stuff. Comes in, is dynamite short term for the Dolphins, and then but it goes out quickly. So I don't know where that's going. The Titans said they're confident in what the medical people told him. I will tell you that he is, if what he did last year on the field translates, he's going to be a fun third down back to watch this year, and who knows? He could be part of a tandem after Henry's gone, which we would assume would be after next season. Don't know that for sure. So, Dowell, Spears, those guys, I like the athleticism and the potential. Jalen Duncan is a massive value pick, as a lot of people look at it, where they got him in the 6th round and has all the measurables, but also has not been a consistent performer and has really got smoked by a lot of Big Ten pass rushers. Also, though, his projection is as a guard in a zone scheme, and that's obviously what he's coming into, and I think that's what he'll be. He'll be a guard in the NFL. So they got a guard. Now they got a guard in the 6th round. They may have gotten 2 guards in this draft. But I do think that Duncan, I think they were more emphatic talking about him than any other player in terms of his visit and talking to him and everything. So I don't hate that pick in terms of value. And that's why a lot of people, if you look at the grades out there, there's a whole bunch of A's coming the Titans' way. A whole bunch of A's and B's by the people grading drafts. But that's because a lot of people who grade drafts grade them just based on who you picked and what the value of the pick was, right? I mean, Levis alone makes this a high-value draft.
Yeah, I got more to say about grading drafts coming up at 7:45. I'm looking forward to that one. It's always my favorite time of year.
It's the most important thing in the world, right?
Yes, I'm looking forward to that discussion at 7:45. Yep. Now, as Joe drinks more of the mayonnaise in the coffee, so he's doubling down on it. Good stuff from Rexrode this segment.
You're scary.
I like it. Joe Rexrode, Will Levis of the same mind. Sean on the text line says, quote, "I want Rexrode to be my dad," end quote. This is from Sean on the text line. I don't know what that means.
Can tell you, I know some people who would say they wouldn't. Maybe they'll swap with you.
The Spears pick is obviously the one that turned a lot of heads, right? So, I mean, beyond Will Levis. But Spears, at running back, number one, the position that he plays and where they took him in the draft in the 3rd round. But number 2, the injury stuff, right? You brought it up. He's had 2 ACL injuries, doesn't have an ACL in the knee. There's all sorts of discussion right now about his medical report that's come out after the draft and the Titans being the ones to take him there. And then there's the simple fact of, okay, you took a running back and you need like 3 wide receivers on this roster, and you took a running back at that point. Now, we had a texter bring this up. Right there kind of in a row, you had Jalen Hyatt go to the Giants. You had Cedric Tillman go to the Browns. And selected them at that point. We'll never know. My guess tells me probably, that they probably would have at that point, but they didn't, and Spears is the player they end up with. I mean, like you said, Joe, if he's the player that he was last year at Tulane, and that he can translate that to the NFL, then he could be pretty exciting for the Titans. But at the end of the day, for the short term anyway, I would assume you're talking about a 3rd down running back and not a receiver drafted until the 7th round.
Right. And we've had some people, of course, bring up how bad the offense was last year. George on Twitter, 17 points a game, awful. I don't know how much he helps that. But Dontrell Hilliard, let's remember, for as bad as the offense was last year, what if they didn't have Hilliard doing what he did in the first half of the season as a 3rd down back? The big part of the offense in the red zone. So he has the neck injury. They need to find that next guy. I think Spears is going to be fun to watch if he can stay healthy. And of course, the whole if he can stay healthy thing, you were kind of hoping they'd move past. But also you can have a flash of Darrington Evans when you think about Tyjae Spears too, a guy who also couldn't stay healthy and was supposed to be this electric complement to Derrick Henry. Here's another attempt at that.
So who in the world are going to be the receivers for the Titans as they step foot on the field? Number 1 in training camp and number 2 in September as the season begins. coming up. We'll discuss that coming up next. Take your thoughts as well. 615-737-1025. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Phil Tomasino, and this is Smashville.
Cousins put it in front of the score. Tomasino lofts it in. 2-0 Nashville.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Kondezovic here for Superbook Sports. Baseball's back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops, so make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Looks like we are going to have a second-round matchup between the Warriors and the Lakers. This is going to be a great series. I'm already calling that it's going to go to 7 games, and honestly, I don't know the last time that we've had the 2 and the 3 seeds both knocked out in the second round. But I'm looking at the first game that's coming up this Tuesday between the Lakers and the Warriors. I really like the Lakers to take the first game because they have a little extra rest. The line's already out. Golden State is a 4.5-point favorite. I'm going to take the Lakers plus the 4.5. I'm also going to take the Lakers plus 165 on the money line, but I do think that the Warriors will advance out of this series. So make it all count this spring with Superbook Sports. Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus when you sign up, deposit, and wager all in the same day. So download the app, sign up, put a little money on there, and make that wager I just gave you for the Warriors and the Lakers, and you'll get $250 to play with. So don't let the spring pass you by without winning some money with Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Attention all fire and safety line experts. Middle Tennessee's fastest growing fire protection company is looking for experienced service technicians, designers, and sprinkler system experts like you. Tired of working for a large corporate employer? Work for a company where you're more than just a number. Jarrett Fire Protection is owned and operated by Nashville natives and wants to invite you to grow with their amazing team.
Hi, I'm Jason Jarrett, owner of Jarrett Companies. I'm looking to hire experienced sprinkler experts and will offer a sign-on bonus of up to $5,000 for certified professionals, in addition to our great benefits that include a 401k match, PTO, and top pay with annual bonuses. We will also provide you with the top-of-the-line tools, trucks, and equipment that you need to grow your career. Our customer base is large and business is booming with many opportunities for advancement. Give us a call or go online to jarrettfire.com and apply today to become a member of our family and protect our community. That's JARRETT fire.com. Jarrett Companies, where we are above and beyond industry standards.
Does this sound familiar? Did your agent provide excellent entertainment with their TikTok videos and constant social media posts about themselves while completely ignoring that you hired them to sell your home? Did they tell you how wonderful they were? How many followers they had? They probably never sold your home, but hey, they did get 15 likes on their selfies. Hashtag my clients love me. Don't let that happen to you. Google TJ Anderson Homes and see why the only likes we care about are our clients loving our service. Ask us about our prepay with TJ option and how it can save you thousands. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Office number 615-432-2919.
Honey, what's an 8-letter word for difficult to explain?
When we planned on retiring, we never planned on Medicare being so confusing.
What's a 6-letter word for special skills or knowledge?
Fortunately, Farm Bureau Health Plans is an expert on all things Medicare. With 75 years of helping Tennesseans, they helped us understand our Medicare options.
Why are these things so complicated?
Talk to your local representative or visit fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Nashville Sounds Baseball lives on 94.9 The Fan. Catch every pitch.
Swing and a miss, strike 3.
Every hit.
That's a base hit.
Every run.
Looking up, it's gone.
On your home for Sounds Baseball. 94.9 The Fan and The Fan app.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Join 102.5 The Game for the second annual Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament presented by Gary Force Acura, benefiting Souls for Souls on June the 7th at Hermitage Golf Course. You can put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebs to support a great cause and have loads of fun. Plus, you'll have the chance to win awesome prizes. You can sign up to play, sponsor, or donate at thegamenashville.com/golf. Welcome back in. Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Call TJ's team today to see why they're referred to so often. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Andy Ben on the text line, our friend of the program, says, I feel the Texans and Colts improved the most from the draft, whereas the Titans still have major questions at wide receiver and to a lesser degree offensive line. Skoronski was a nice pick, but I'm not sure if he's the franchise left tackle. Projects more as a guard. Quarterback is hit or miss with them as Levis dropped out of the first for a reason. I mean, the Titans passed on him as well, which tells you something. He's a decent leader. He'll make some great throws and runs, but he also makes some questionable decisions. I believe his ceiling is slightly more athletic Matthew Stafford. He also gives me serious Carson Wentz vibes, so I'll gladly smile and be happy with Indianapolis' quarterback decision. This is from Indy Ben on the text line. Joe, your response.
Well, that's a good long text. I like Keith's better. Duke of Hurl. That was a much more simple, concise.
It was.
I'm shocked that Indy Ben thinks that the Colts did better in the draft than the Titans. No, I like what the Colts did, in all seriousness. And look, it's just going to be so much fun because Richardson, as we've talked about, and I think Richardson and Levis both kind of in this boat, but I think both ranges are bigger for Richardson. I think the floor lower, ceiling higher. And I have no idea what's going to happen. Obviously, Shane Steichen, I mean, that's a big part of it, right? He's there as a head coach because of his quarterback history. So if they can figure that out, they may have, as Jared said, Manning, Luck, Richardson.
We'll
Colts
see.
fans are starving for a quarterback. It's been like 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, yeah, and they've been where I thought the Titans were heading, which is potentially just trying to find the next pretty good veteran. Tannehill worked out awfully well for them. The best quarterback play the Tennessee Titans have had since Steve McNair came about via fourth-round pick to a team that retained salary of a guy they just wanted to unload. So you just don't know. But the Titans are starting their clock too. So can't wait to see Richardson, Levis, and Stroud and how they all compare and how they all develop. I mean, the AFC South is actually interesting and fun.
Oh, yeah.
Which has been a while.
Favre, Rodgers, Love, Manning, Luck, Richardson, Locker, Mariota, Levis. Let's get after it.
Stafford, Goff, Hooker.
Just a trio of greatness all around, everywhere you look in the NFL. So, Joe, who in the world's playing wide receiver for the Titans as this season rolls around? We've talked about free agency. That is essentially come and gone at this point, and the Titans making a minimal move at wide receiver in free agency. Chris Moore coming in. So, look, there's Traylon Burks on the roster. Kyle Phillips is on the roster. Nick Westbrook-Akine is on the roster. Or Kina, excuse me. Chris Moore on the roster. And now Racing McMath, your boy, is on there too. So I guess those five guys at the moment would make up your receiving core that you feel good about making the team. And then you just selected Colton Dow in the 7th round out of UT Martin. So is that going to be it? Like, is that their wide receiving core heading into September?
Pete from Adairville mentions Kyrus Jackson as the UDFA. There's Robertson. There's Kinsey. Look, I asked Vrabel because I one read I have in this. I understand they go with the big board. This is what the big board said. We went with the big board. Fine. But you're still in that room and you're talking about, I mean, you know where your needs are. You know where you have a lot of players. You have depth. Look, the Titans went all offense. This is the first time, by the way. I did the research yesterday. It took a few minutes. That the Titans have ever drafted only one side of the football in a draft.
Incredible.
Which isn't shocking. Obviously, the draft used to be way longer, so there was no way that ever happened before that. The closest they ever got was 2018 when they went defense. They only had 4 picks, and then they went Luke Falk in the 6th round. But
oh yeah,
it's just the fact that they went, even though they went big board, right? They also went 6 offensive players. It kind of tells you they know where they're weak and they know where they're strong, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that kind of speaks to need, 6 offensive players. And so maybe need could have helped out a little bit with a receiver somewhere, but they didn't do it. And that's part of why I think this must also tell us a little bit that they are more optimistic about someone already under contract than maybe the general public is. I asked Vrabel about Kyle Phillips and Racing McMath in particular, because to me, those are the 2 guys who I think it's a lot more certain with Phillips that they're going to lean on him. They need him to be healthy and be the slot guy, and that he was looking really good last year. Mostly it was in camp, so, that's what it is, but he was cooking NFL defensive backs daily. And Vrabel, in fact, I'll try to find the exact quote. It was a pretty interesting quote, really, about these guys. So he said, it'll come. Kyle's ability to come. Quote. That'll be determined by the efforts they put in. Kyle's ability to come back and maintain some consistency that he had early on through training camp. Racing knows this is a critical point in his career. He's got to continue to play and improve and be big and fast, help us and adjust the football down the field, do some of the things he did in training camp last year before, unfortunately, he got hurt, end quote. I didn't come away from that thing and they're like, yep, Racing McMath, wide receiver 2.
Right.
But I do think that he has to be considered, as much as we want to joke about it, he has to be considered someone they think could actually be in the rotation. I mean, it's going to be Burks, and I think it's going to be Phillips. I mean, right now, if you start with an 11 personnel, it's going to be Burks, Phillips, and NWI, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's your starting group.
They have – it's not like they don't have people that can play and could start. Like Nick Westbrook-Akine can start. You just – the idea is to upgrade, right? Like you've got we talked about it. NWI, like in a perfect scenario, probably needed to be like your 4 or your 5 at wide receiver this year.
Yes.
And
he needed to be bumped down the depth chart, and he wasn't.
Right. And Kyle Phillips, I like a lot of what I saw from him before he got hurt. Now, can he stay healthy? That's going to be the question with him, and that's going to be the question with Racing McMath as well. I mean, look, that's the question with Traylon Burks. Like, can he stay healthy next year? But like I did not expect to come out of the draft and to be looking around and saying, man, like who in the world in this wide receiver group is anybody defensively going to be scared of? Like I guess Traylon Burks is your answer if he takes that next step. But like beyond that, I don't know that there's anybody like as far as making big plays. Like Kyle Phillips can cook you, like you said, in the slot, and maybe he's like the guy that just moves the chains and he can stay healthy. And he can be what we saw in that Giants game last year, which is basically he's the go-to guy in that game when they needed to make some big plays coming down the field there. So maybe they feel great about him being that guy. But I just look on the outside right now, and I'm like, man, are you counting heavily on Traylon Burks? And if he can't quite do it, or even if he can, like who else on the outside right now scares the defense even remotely that the Titans have on the roster right now? And to me, the answer is no one.
Yeah. So Maddie says our wide receiver 2 is not yet on the roster, in my opinion. And Vrabel hinted at that as a possibility. Now, was Vrabel saying, we got a plan, folks, wink, wink, hint, hint, or was he just saying, hey, you don't know, something could emerge? I know some people out there are talking about Corey Davis. I don't see that happening. I don't see Corey Davis wanting to come back here.
No.
And if you remember some of the stuff he said after the Titans let him go, I don't think that's an option. There could be another option. There could be a trade. So something like that is possible. And probably, I mean, I think they need to seriously look under every rock out there to try to upgrade the receiving core. It's just not good enough. It's just, like you said, even from the top down, you have health concerns. So you could end up, I mean, some of the games last year, they ended up, like CJ Board is out there. I mean, it's just, you got to get better there. I think a year from now, a big free agent signing, a significant draft pick could be really addressing it, but it may be that in 2023, it's just really slim pickings on the outside. And even if the offensive line is way better, look, I mean, that still matters. And I think Chig is going to be good and Burks should take a step, but can you score enough points? Can you be balanced enough with the receiving core in its current condition? I have my doubts.
Well, and some people saying maybe it's Chris Moore that starts over NWI. Maybe. But does that really change the equation?
No, it does not.
So that's where you're at the receiving standpoint. I will say, DeAndre Hopkins still out there, man. Still out there and available, I guess.
D-Hop.
Maybe that's the route they go. 615-737-1025. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans. Coming up next, it is time for the Rob Rant. You can check it out every morning at 7:45 here on the program. We will do that next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, live and local from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you want the national
Hey. I got this. I'll take it from here.
Okay, go ahead. Dying to hear this.
We have the best national voices that you'll find anywhere.
Who was more deserving of being thrown from their game?
I'm odd, so I get the odd picks.
They have a new coaching staff.
It's not a bad scenario for them.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
And 94.9 The Fan.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Music City will be rocking June 23rd through the 25th with a different sound, the sound of NASCAR.
Start your engine!
The Ally 400 is back at Nashville Superspeedway, and this year, it's a night race. NASCAR in Nashville. It's guitars and fast cars under the lights. Visit NashvilleSuperspeedway.com to get your tickets for the triple header weekend, including the Ally 400, Tennessee Lottery 250, and the Rackley Roofing 200 today.
B&B Flooring has a goal to bring your dream floor to you. Over 30 years running and locally owned and operated, B&B Flooring's full-service, commercial, and residential team will handle anything from tile, luxury vinyl, carpet, hardwood, rubber, and all commercial products.
Visit their showroom at 2204 Northwest Broad Street in Murfreesboro, or check them out at bnbflooringtn.com to make your flooring selection today. Call 615-216-0551 and schedule a free quote at your home or office.
We got you covered.
This is R.A. Dickey, and I'm proud to tell you about my friends at Smoky Mountain Tops. When my wife Ann and I needed new countertops for our kitchen, we called Smoky Mountain Tops. We wanted to make sure that we worked with a company dedicated to quality, craftsmanship, and customer service. And that's what we got with Smoky Mountain Tops. Go with the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops for any of your surfacing countertop needs. Located in Knoxville and Nashville. Visit SmokyMountainTops.com.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're locked into Robby and Rexrode.
Every morning, first thing.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
And it is that time of the day, time for the Rob Rant here on Robby and Rexrode. You can check it out every morning at 7:45. The Rob Rant, the Red Rant, the Rex Rant. One of those three happening every morning at 7:45 here on the program. And Joe, you brought this up earlier. We've reached that time of the year. We've moved from mock draft season to draft grade season in the National Football League, which is always fun and a great, interesting transition there. We've talked about mock drafts on the show. Whether it's Kuiper or McShay or Dane Brugler, they're fun. We enjoy reading them, looking at them. But at the end of the day, mock drafts really don't amount to a hill of beans. Look no further than Will Levis falling out of the first round and being drafted by the Tennessee Titans early in the second round. So I think we all know what mock drafts are. I think what's even dumber are the draft grades in the immediate aftermath of the draft. Look, pretty much everybody does them, and I get it. It's a talking point, and people want to read them, so all those things. So whatever. That's fine. Pretty much everybody does them. But it was interesting. I went back and looked at, just for the sake of this discussion, some of the draft grades for the 2019 draft class for the Tennessee Titans, and found a bunch of C's and a C minus, and the pick of Jeffrey Simmons specifically from Caleb Friedman of Sports Illustrated was a C plus. I was like, well, these are really aging well. I think we know what the 2019 draft class looked like for the Tennessee Titans. So the grades, like, there's been so much talk about the grades. Like, I saw some Titans fans in like Twitter fights yesterday about, well, all these experts have the Titans graded as an A minus in their draft class or a B plus in their draft class. And I'm like, none of these guys have even taken a snap or stepped on the field, or in some cases stepped in the facility yet, of the Tennessee Titans, and we're having draft grades at this point. I mean, I would love to put together an exercise and just pick any year, whether it's 2019 or 2015 or whatever it is. I would love to just say I would take everybody's draft grades that they've given every team throughout the league and then stack them up with how it actually plays out, like 3 or 4 years down the road. I'd love to go back and look at that, because I bet you could find some doozies in there.
Oh, man, no doubt. It's a great question. What is more worthless? Both of them are catnip. I'll raise my hand. I read them. But what's more worthless, the mock drafts or the grades?
It's a great question. I mean, I think I might lean grades. I really will.
Yeah.
I'm leaning grades.
You're right. I think you're right. Because it really is so dumb. And that's a great idea to go back to 2019, because that's an example of a class we know now, certainly, is a great draft class. I think that I got to say, I got a lot of ripping of Kaharski to do this week. We'll meet it out. We'll sort of space it out. But I got to say, I got to call it another beloved member of my Nashville press corps. Yesterday, Kyle Tucker, I don't even know. He had some tweet, and it was just like, wow, what an underwhelming draft about the Titans.
Yeah.
And Teresa Walker replied with, Pro Football Focus gave it an A minus. And I said, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Not only citing a draft grade, but Pro Football Focus.
To put this in perspective, Patrick Mahomes got a C minus.
Yeah. That looked great.
That's a great. Yeah, look, like I think the only way to because I think the only genuine way to do it, there should be a disclaimer. But it should be, some of the people who have given them good grades have kind of made it clear, like, just basically basing it on projections. If you get value picks that are way higher, or like you got them way lower than they were projected, you get a good grade. And that's fine. I mean, at least it's like related to what people thought, rather than just say, hey, I give that an A and I'll give you a B,
Yeah.
So from that perspective, from the value perspective, Duncan, Skoronski, but especially Levis, I mean, those picks are value picks. I don't know if they'll be good picks, but from what the information we have now, they are value picks.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
It's so stupid.
Well,
it's still all very dumb.
I would love to know, like, what in the world is Philadelphia's draft grade coming out of this year with Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and Keely Ringo and all these other guys they drafted?
I mean, that's the thing. I'd give them an A+++, and 3 of those guys may suck. I mean, but yeah, it's incredible to me. Like, to get Carter where they did and Smith where they did. Shoot, and Ringo where they did.
Yeah. Well,
they're all like friends and teammates.
Again, we've talked about the 2014 draft class of the Titans before. I mean, and you could go back even further than that. Of just some doozies that they've had. And there are draft classes that have been given like a B. Like, somebody from CBS gave the Titans 2014 draft class a B. And it's like, okay, cool. That worked out really well for them at that point. I see all this discussion right now about the draft grades, and it just drives me nuts. So we'll wait and see what happens on that front. The Jeffrey Simmons one I found this morning was pretty funny. C+. I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL. Worked out okay.
Well, I think that's the big thing. Like I just mentioned Teresa, and there's a lot of back and forth on Twitter. Titans fans who want to believe this is a great draft. Titans fans who are angry about the draft.
Yep.
Titans fans who are angry about the draft talk about how they're angry. if your response is, well, look at CBS Sports grade, come up with something better than that. Come up with, your own reasoning about why it's good. Coming up with your own explanation for how there's not a receiver until the 7th round, because the thing is, draft grades and picks they're done in a vacuum, right? Yep. Like, again, value is part of it, and I think that's fine. But when they look at picks, like, I think nationally, someone doing the NFL, they consider need and all that, what this team needs. I mean, remember last year, everybody thought the Titans needed an inside linebacker. Ultimately, they're just grading the players. Titans fans who know how desperately, or even Titans media, people here who know this team well, know that they badly needed a receiver. So, like, that to me is lost in a lot of the grading. Is like, how did you address your needs? Addressing needs is still an important part of drafting, I think.
I just want to quickly run through a piece from Bleacher Report on April 25th of 2013, going back to the 2013 draft class, where the Titans selected in round 1 with pick number 10 overall, Chance Warmack. And there's this big spiel on him with the draft grade being an A from Bleacher Report. In round 2 with pick 34, Justin Hunter, wide receiver, a grade of a B out of that one. Bleedy Ray Wilson in round 3, a grade of a B out of that one. Xavier Gooden, outside linebacker, who honestly forgot totally about, a C-. Brian Schwenke, a B+. LeVar Edwards, defensive end out of LSU, a B. And Khalid Wooten, cornerback out of Nevada, a B-. So those are some draft grades from the Tennessee Titans back in the 2013 draft class, including Chance Warmack an A and Justin Hunter a B.
Sure. And you know what? At the time, they drafted Chance Warmack. I remember. I mean, what was he? Yes, he was the 10th pick.
10th pick.
Oh, that guy's a can't miss. That guy was absolutely smashing. I mean, what I think they just had, was that the year that they I think they played Alabama in the national title game. They just absolutely putting Notre Dame defenders into the dirt. That dude's going to be amazing. We don't know.
That's the thing. I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Now, having said all that, 2 teams that I walked away with, just my own personal opinion, thinking they did a pretty good job in the draft. Number 1, obviously, was Philadelphia. Number 2, Pittsburgh. I thought Pittsburgh did really well in the draft. I thought they drafted well.
Did they draft well enough for you to be a Pittsburgh fan instead of being a fake Bears fan, Michelle?
Oh.
I am just a bandwagon fan all over the place. Also, they got Darnell Washington, which I do love.
Apparently there's some concerns on him.
Concerns,
I couldn't believe he slid as far as he did.
There's a knee thing, right? I mean, I didn't realize that, but I know I couldn't either. I mean, with the Titans, I'm like, take this dude.
By the way, Pro Football Network's draft grade for Darnell Washington in Pittsburgh is an A-, so take that for what it's worth.
He'll play 3 games ever.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we'll be joined by our friend Corey Curtis from News 2. We'll get his thoughts on the Titans, the drafting of Will Levis, and the draft class as a whole for the Tennessee Titans. That is coming up next. Make sure you tune in for Nashville Sounds Baseball tomorrow night at 6:35 on 94.9 The Fan. The Sounds take on the St. Paul Saints, the AAA affiliate of the Minnesota Twins. Sounds Baseball on 94.9 The Fan, presented by 312 Pizza, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and Family Leisure. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every day we are live and local.
Most people picked them to make the playoffs before the season even started.
And your source for Nashville sports.
He can still wait for 5 more games before he makes that decision.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Celebrating mothers everywhere, Electronic Express has what you need to make this the best Mother's Day yet. Spoil mom with brands like Samsung, Sony, LG, Breville, Jura, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, housewares, smart home, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 3 years free financing. Shop in-store or online. Get more for mom at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Do you love sports, and are you passionate about helping local businesses and your community grow? Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and let me tell you, the best attributes of working with us on our sales team at 1025 The Game include the ability to build relationships with local businesses, craft effective advertising campaigns, and the potential for high earnings. If you have excellent communication skills, think creatively, and have the drive to succeed, just shoot us an email with your resume at together@cromwellmedia.com. That's together@cromwellmedia.com.
The Low Post Podcast with Zach Lowe.
Tatum, I think at worst, he's third in MVP right now. He's playing defense at a borderline all-defense level. He's too young for these conversations to really start in earnest. If he's a Celtic for life for most of his career, he has a chance to be historically, for the one of the two historic giants in the league, as great as any player who's ever worn that uniform, including Bird.
Check out the Low Post Podcast on the ESPN app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's Wrangler season out there. T-shirt days, denim jacket nights. A pair of broken-in jeans you could live in. Open roads, endless horizons, no destinations. This is when adventure starts calling. And you need to be ready in jeans that are made for the unpredictable journey that we call life. Wrangler, for the ride of life. Shop our newest styles today at Wrangler.com.
Yo, 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 what's up, party people? I'm Julie Foudy.
And I'm Lynn Ozawi.
We host the ESPN podcast Laughter Permitted, where we have candid chats with trailblazing women in sports and beyond.
We've talked with goats like Billie Jean King, Simone Biles, Mia Hamm, Sue Bird, Candace Parker, Michaela Schifrin, just to name a few.
So grab a donut or 500 and check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And a huge shout out to our presenting sponsor, Ally, who has supported us since day one.
It's Laughter Permitted.
I'm Michelle Knezovic. The Tennessee Titans have their 2023 draft class. Peter Skoronski, Will Levis, Tajay Spears, Josh Weil, Jalen Duncan, and Colton Dowell. Here was Rand Carthon on drafting all offensive players in this year's draft.
It honestly just dawned on me about 30 minutes ago that it was all offense. We were just playing the board, and every time you came up at a pick, I guess the way it was stacked and it was ranked, your eyes went to the left, and the way our board is constructed, and healthy conversation on every pick. And everyone that we took off the board, at wherever we took them, we felt convicted. It just so happened to be all offense, but it wasn't a design plan or anything.
The Los Angeles Lakers knocked out the Memphis Grizzlies this weekend, and the Warriors survived the Sacramento Kings in Game 7 last night. The two will meet up for a Tuesday night matchup, and the Boston Bruins are out of the NHL playoffs, along with the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche. This report is presented by the law offices of Amanda Gentry. I'm Michelle Knezovic for 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 1025 and 1063.
1, 2, 3, 9. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
Yossi scores.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Mixing sports and a little bit of fun.
This is fun!
On your morning drive. This is Robby and Rexrode. With Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode. Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. On Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063 The Game. And on the Game Nashville app.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's showtime.
Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning, talking Titans and the NFL Draft. And to help us discuss that, we go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in our friend Corey Curtis from News 2 for the best 12 to 14 minutes in sports radio per week. Corey, good morning. How are you?
Well, not as blessed as you are at this moment, but I'm good.
Well, it's just an honor and a privilege every single week to have you on the program. So let's just kick things off with the Will Levis question, right? So the Titans passed on him at 11.
I was starting with Steph Curry, but go ahead.
Well, we could. Titans pass on him at number 11. They trade back up at number 33 to get Will Levis and select him to be the quarterback of the future for the Tennessee Titans. What did you make of that pick, and what did you make of the way that pick played out for the Titans in terms of what it took to go get him?
Well, somebody was going to do it, right? I mean, somebody was going to go. I'm just frankly stunned that he and Hooker both went that long, especially Hooker. Because look, I know they're looking at stuff that we don't look at. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, I've seen Will Levis play a handful of games, and they've watched everything that they've got of him. The handful I've got, weren't his best performances. That's for sure. But they saw enough to think that, when you took a flyer on Malik Willis in the third, that was, hey, we'll give it a shot. I mean, you're trading up for 33. That's a big pick. I mean, that's an investment, and that's saying that there is a hearty belief that this guy can be your starting quarterback in a year. I think it's a good setup for him. It doesn't force him to come in and play right away. He can sit and he can learn, and play under Tannehill for a year. And so I think that's a good setup for him, and it's a good setup for them. I don't think the cost is horrific. When they swapped threes and they gave up a third next year. I mean, they always seem to be behind the draft 8 ball in picks, but pretty confident if they didn't move up to get him, somebody else would have.
And so, like you said, it's a show of confidence in him, but of course they could have shown a lot more confidence by taking him at 11. Yeah. It's also
more.
Yeah, or guard. It's also it's also a show of, I think, confidence that Malik Willis is not going to work out a year after that. That's one thing. I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like, a year ago at this very moment, we're like, okay. I think I wrote something. Other people we talked about. It's like, okay, so basically Malik Willis gets this year, and then in 23 he's competing with Tannehill to take over the starting job. I mean, It's amazing how things change. But also, Corey, because I don't know what Malik Willis has done this offseason. He may come back and be like, hey, Will Levis, watch this. You can't hang with me. I don't know. What about the idea of cutting Tannehill and just going with Willis with Will Willis at quarterback? Levis and Willis at quarterback. I mean, is that absolutely off the table?
That would be horrifying to me. I mean, that would be absolutely horrifying. That would be like waking up, and you don't even have a chance to run. You've got 10 zombies around your bed. I mean, that's how horrifying that would be to me. Malik Willis didn't do anything last year to show me he could possibly be ready to start this year. That doesn't mean he can't ever be. I'm just saying from what I saw last year, the struggles to complete any kind of passes downfield was real. And I know, he's still got a lot of supporters, and that's great. And I hope he wears a gold jacket one day. I do. How many successful quarterbacks in the National Football League struggled as massively as he did last year to complete any kind of pass in a football game? I mean, people here like to bang on Jake Locker, and they like to bang on Marcus Mariota, and I like to bang on Vince Young from time to time. None of them came close to struggling at the level that Malik Willis did last year. Not even close. So I think that's crazy. And then, Will Levis, we haven't seen him take a snap in practice. So I just think that, and look, you're setting yourself up for the opportunity to pick first, and then you'd be picking a quarterback for the third year in a row.
Or Marvin Harrison Jr.
Could be that too.
Brock Bowers.
Well, at that point, you're still going to need somebody to throw him the football.
Yeah,
it doesn't work.
What do you make of how much different the AFC South looks just after one weekend with Richardson in Indy, obviously Stroud in Houston, and now Levis here in Nashville?
Well, like when you're bad, and the AFC South has been bad for a long time, this is what happens. You pick, up where they have three of the top 11 picks, and when you're picking that high, generally, some of you are searching for a quarterback, and in this case, all of them were. So it's predictable, but it's exciting if they work out. Unfortunately, this isn't like Joe Burrow. This isn't like, some of these Andrew Luck, where you're just like, yeah, this guy's going to be really, really good. We think Bryce Young is going to be good if he can survive. We think C.J. Stroud is going to be decent, but for whatever reason, we're all not sold on the level that we were on the other people. I think he's been dragged through the mud so hard over the last couple of weeks. And look, Anthony Richardson and Will Levis are both leaps of faith. They're both really, big, strong, talented guys, but they don't have the results that make you go, like C.J. Stroud, he's got like 85 touchdowns in 2 years and 8,000 yards. Will Levis has like 5,000 yards and 23 interceptions in 2 years. Those are vastly different results, obviously for vastly different teams. But also, Will Levis couldn't unseat the guy in Penn State who got drafted in like the 6th round. So, there's leaps of faith for everybody, and if these guys produce, it's a really exciting time for the division.
What about the rest of the Titans draft, Corey? No receivers until the 7th round. Tyjae Spears, there's some medicals out there that are very discouraging on him. The Titans medical staff said thumbs up 2 years ago. Same thing was talked about with Caleb Farley. How do you assess the entirety of this haul?
Well, first off,
give us a grade, Corey. Give us a grade.
Yes, please.
No, I'm not giving a grade. I do give them an A for this, sticking to their board. And because I think in the last couple of years they probably got away from that a little bit, but I think they really stuck to their board and saying, hey, we may need this position, but this guy's so much higher on our board than he is. This is where we're going. As far as the running back, it's a 3rd round pick on a part-time player, and I guess that's kind of what I have a hard time with. I mean, even like say Derrick Henry's gone next year. He's 195 pounds. He's still a 3rd down back. He's not going to be able to last at that size. And so it's a 3rd round pick on a part-time player. But you know what? If he scores 6 touchdowns this year, well, I'll be saying great pick. He's a weapon if he's healthy. And so I like adding weapons. I like Skoronski, guys. I mean, he's a good football player. And I think I'm just a believer in adding good football players. I know Jared is all bent that he has to play tackle. It would be nice if he played tackle, but if he goes to Canton playing guard or center, I don't care. He's a good football player, and if he performs at that level at those positions, I have no problem with that whatsoever. The receiver thing is puzzling, and it just keeps saying to me the same thing, that there's got to be somebody out there who they think they're going to be able to shake free or is going to shake free that they're going to be able to get. Because to go into the season with the room that they've got right now, it's kind of like that zombie scenario. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, pretty scary for sure. And, we were going through the depth chart earlier. Like right now it's Traylon Burks. I guess Kyle Phillips is in the slot. And then you have one of either Chris Moore or NWI playing on the outside. That does not inspire a ton of confidence in me.
No, it kind of looks like the XFL or the USFL. I mean, and I just say that because, those guys are – none of those guys are starters, all right? They're depth guys. And like NWI has shown he's been able to play for this team, and it's not horrible putting him out there. But there's no team in the league that's going, well, we really got to account for NWI in this one. He's going to come out and get us. And the Titans need more of that on the outside because, I know we always get back to when they had A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was a problem, and he was a problem for everybody, and he continues to be. And obviously they need Traylon Burks to be a problem, but you got to have more than one problem. And, you can't have other guys where they're like, okay, who's our worst DB? Just you go play with him for a while and know you're going to be okay. So they need somebody. They really do. And I thought one of the most interesting things Mike Vrabel had to say on Sunday was about this new wave of free agency that was coming up today, and that it sounded like they were ready for, actually talked about restructuring contracts. So it sounds like they know they've got to make a move, and they've got a plan to make a move.
Yeah, that was interesting. I went back and forth because he did explain it, and in my mind it was like, Is he telling us that they got something in mind, or is he just sort of saying, by the way, this does exist, don't everybody freak out right now? I could buy either way.
He's talked about for a while how the roster is going to look different, and sure it will, but none of us really cares about 49 through 53 different. We care about guys who are going to be actually on the field different. And the way he went into that, because there were 2 or 3 questions about it, he sounded pretty, steadfast that they were going to be looking and moving.
Corey, last thing for you. What'd you think of Darnell Wright going 10 to your beloved Chicago Bears?
I love the pick. 6'6", 330 pounds. That's a big dude. He's young. He's like 21 years old still, or 22. And if he was going around one. There was no question about that. And it's just a question of, which team was he the right fit for at what position. I like that they were able to trade down and get another pick and still get the guy that they wanted. He is a masher, and as they approached the draft, his stock did nothing but rise because, when tested, when put into all-star competition, he did really, really well, and he stoned the guy who got picked 3rd overall. So, I really like that pick for the Bears. I've always said I'm a big believer in building teams inside out. I've kind of changed a little bit because you need weapons on the outside, but the Bears have weapons now. So, they were in position to take that offensive lineman, and I like the pick.
Corey, great stuff as always. Thanks for taking time to be with us.
Right?
It was great. Amazing. It was worthy of the exclamation point I put on the tweet last night announcing you were coming on the show. Thanks for being with us.
I thought you might have sprained a digit hitting that exclamation point.
I may have.
I love the tease. Like, there's 4 lines about something, and then there's Corey
Curtis coming up at 8.
Because that's all that needs to be said.
Look, there's a character limit on Twitter. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, use your characters wisely.
Well, maybe so.
Really, we should just call you Corey. You're like Madonna.
It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, bye.
See ya. Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll get back into the Titans draft coming up next. Take your reaction to the drafting of Will Levis at number 33 overall by the Tennessee Titans. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game.
185! Every team needs a quarterback.
185!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The NBA playoffs are here, and you can turn crossovers into cash with FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com/Rob right now and place a $5 bet, and you'll get an instant $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. My beloved Miami Heat in the playoffs. They've already taken down the Bucks. They're up 1-0 on the Knicks, and I think they dispatch of New York relatively easily in this series, but you can take it any way you want to take it. Just make sure you do it on FanDuel Sportsbook. Great promotions every single day, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet all the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Just go to FanDuel.com/Rob and sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet your first $5. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invite you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our special specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds. Online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Real estate investors, listen up. D&M Development announces the pre-sale of Nashville's only non-owner occupied short-term rental resort community. The New Cumberland is perfectly located between Germantown and East Nashville, with amazing views of the city and the Cumberland River. The New Cumberland is a resort-style community featuring community pools, spacious kitchens, 4 bedrooms, and 4 baths. D&M Development is releasing 16 units in their Phase 1. Available now. Go to thenewcumberland.com for information. That's thenewcumberland.com. Harmon Energy is your one-stop petroleum solution across all of Tennessee, offering turnkey petroleum solutions for professionals in major industries, serving trucking fleets, construction companies, industrial plants, and more. Whether a large corporation or owner-operator, Harmon Energy has your diesel fuel, lubricant, DEF, and equipment needs. No matter how you're getting there, start with Parman. Visit ParmanEnergy.com for more info. Your Tennessee petroleum solution, providing totally outrageous customer service.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Robby and Rexrode podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
You're listening to Robby and Rexrode.
It's part of this nutritious breakfast.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezovic here with you on this Monday morning. We are streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Our video streaming brought to you by Superbook. We are live from our 102.5 The Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I got a Moments Piece $100 gift card to give away, and we're going to do it via trivia question on the text line. So here is the question, and remember, it's the text line. Do not call in. It is the text line. The Titans selected Vince Young with the 3rd overall pick in the 2006 NFL Draft. Who did the Titans take with their 2nd pick in the draft in 2006? Who did they take with their 2nd pick in the draft in 2006? If you know the answer, hit up our text line, 615-737-1025. You will win a $100 Moments Piece gift card and be qualified to win a $1,000 Genesis Diamonds gift card and a pair of tickets to see the Dave Matthews Band at Bridgestone Arena coming up on May 26. 615-737-1025. The first person to correctly guess the answer will be our winner today here on the program. Joe, do not say it, but do you know the answer? He's muted. He's still muted. I don't know what's going on with Joe. We'll get him figured out here in just a second. 615-737-1025. Taking your thoughts and your reaction to the Titans selecting Will Levis in the second round of the 2023 NFL Draft. They take Levis at number 33 overall. They move up to go get Will Levis as well. And I said this earlier. Obviously, we talked a lot about Will Levis in the pre-draft process. I was not a fan of Will Levis, did not like the pick or the idea of the Titans selecting him in the draft there, and now they've moved up and they've done it. I put this out there earlier. Not a fan of the pick, but now really the only thing I can do that the pick has been made is to have an open mind as they move forward and wonder if the Titans, with Mike Vrabel being at the helm of this obviously, but Tim Kelly, Charles London will play a role in this too, can they now take the raw tools that Will Levis possesses and mold that into being a good NFL quarterback? That's now the charge and the question for the Tennessee Titans. Can they do that? And Will Levis, as we know, he's got a huge arm. He's got great athleticism, especially when he's healthy. He can move around in the pocket well. The question with him has been the turnovers and the decision-making. Can that be better as they moves into the NFL level? He threw 23 picks in 2 years at Kentucky. That's a lot of interceptions. It's a lot of turnovers. Can you cut that down? Can that be coached up as you hit into the NFL? But lots of interesting reaction back and forth on the selection of Will Levis as it relates to the Titans moving up in the second round to go get him. Threw this out there earlier too. The one problem that I still have with this pick beyond, the Will Levis part of this that has nothing to do with Levis himself, and we talked about this earlier. if you're the Titans and you're taking Will Levis, you believe that he is your answer at quarterback as you move forward. You believe that he's got a chance to be your guy and your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. So if you believe that, and he was there at 11 for you, why didn't you take him? Obviously, they took Skoronski at 11, and it ended up working out. They were able to get back in there and trade for Will Levis. So maybe that was the plan all along. Maybe they knew whether it was trading back into the back part of the first round or the early part of the second round that they could get him. But that's a heck of a risk to take at that point if you weren't just totally convinced that you could land him a little bit later on. So if you believe that he was the guy, why did you not do it at 11? Do we have Joe Rexrode back?
Let's try.
We have him back. There we go.
Okay. There you go. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it's a very interesting situation. Again, if you're the Titans, you want to be proven right, but kind of wrong about Will Levis.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right in coming up to get him, and he becomes the quarterback you hope for the future. And then also you hope you're wrong that when you didn't take him at 11 and you basically got lucky that you were able to get him at 33.
Yeah, for sure. And it's been quite the interesting weekend of reaction on this front. We have a lot of people that are upset with the Will Levis pick. I think a lot of Tennessee fans that are upset with the Will Levis pick. And I would say, Joe, today on the show so far, we have heard more from the people who are happy with or maybe changing their mind on the Will Levis pick based on where he was drafted, or I guess maybe based on the fact that he's now the quarterback of the Tennessee Titans as they move forward. But there's been more positivity on the Will Levis front today than I anticipated heading into the show, which I kind of like.
It's interesting. It's like, I mean, here's a back-to-back text on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. Love the pick, especially at 33. Was absolutely needed. Who else going to back up Tannehill? Well done, Rand. Right?
Yeah.
And then I know that the pick was right next, or the text used to be right next to it. It was basically, and now I can't find it. Okay, well, anyway, there was a text, I swear, that was right next to it that was like, this is an awful draft. What are you all talking about? It's terrible. And, it's you can go through all the picks. Short-arm offensive guard and all that stuff. By the way, something Corey brought up that I heard he and Jared talking about. Like, Corey's like, yeah, Hutchinson, was he? He's like a all-pro guard. Jared's like, well, that doesn't help you win. Like for someone who like spends his life talking about and watching football, how could you not understand football that badly? Yes, great offensive guards do help you win, and also bad ones absolutely help you lose.
Oh yeah,
I understand the idea of if he's a guard, that's high for a guard, and it means he better be great. But like this idea that, premium positions, so the other positions don't matter on the field. If you have a great inside linebacker who makes plays all over the place, not a premium position. Don't give a crap. Does he help you win? Yes.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. And welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. How are we doing today?
I'm happy about it. Well, I'm not ecstatic. You still didn't draft any real receivers, so that was stupid. But I said, I don't think we need any defensive players drafted. And they legit did not draft defensive players. So I was good with it. Like, yeah, we needed so many positions. And I know I talked to Jared on Friday after that first-round pick, and I'm like, man, I know you're upset, but you shouldn't be because we needed a lot. And I think it was a pretty good draft. I think the quarterback selection was weird. It's cool because they're talking about us, and as a fan in April, I'm happy when they're talking about us. But at the same time, I don't know if this dude's going to be good. I kind of thought he was, arrogant, a jerk. I probably wouldn't like him just by what I was getting from some of the stuff he was doing. But at the same time, man, he's got a rocket. I mean, it's like I'm hoping if you have a player like PK Subban that's flashy and everybody else in the league hates him, as long as he's on your team, you love him. So I'm hoping that it's something like that with Will Levis. Hopefully he gets in here and he's just studly and we can embrace that everybody else hates him. But I don't know. Overall, all offensive players, I love that.
Okay, thanks for the call, Adam. Joe, you could feel Adam like talking himself into Will Levis.
Do you remember his call on Friday? Do you guys remember his call on Friday? Levis didn't make it in the first round.
Now he's his guy.
Now he's yours. Yeah. Now he's yours.
That's what happens,
Adam,
man.
He's your guy.
I will say
that was the first Levis PK Subban comparison I've heard.
I was just gonna say, and maybe this is a me thing, I just hate when people automatically are like, he's cocky, he's arrogant, and we really don't know anything about him, and all we know is from an Instagram photo. And
well, he is a little cocky on the field, which I'm fine with in a quarterback.
Yeah,
by the way.
But like arrogant, I don't know. I just think speaking of people's character when you like don't actually know them is just like, that's just the assumption. Yeah, you can be cocky on your field, but it's so funny when it's a certain player. It's like, oh my God, you're the greatest player ever. Michael Jordan, so cocky, talks trash. We love him. And then it's like, oh, when Draymond does it, oh God, he's awful. He's a villain. We hate him. You know, like you can use it both ways.
Joe, just speaking for me, like I kind of want my quarterback to have a little bit of that in him. I mean, look, my guy in Green Bay is maybe the cockiest human being on the face of the entire planet, and that's what he was like for the past 15 years.
These are all good points made today on WHMR, the Homer. 615. I got a Levis question I want to get to on his contract coming up. Very good question on the text line.
Okay, we'll get to that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
The NFL offseason is in full swing, but you'll never miss any of the big news. Thanks to Yahoo's Charles Robinson.
They know that there's a chance that they're going to have to deal this guy.
He's one of the best insiders there is.
All of a sudden, he becomes a functional player who we thought was just trash.
Join Charles Robinson every Thursday morning at 8 on Robby and Rexrode, presented by the NFL Alumni Association on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officers. Earn $52,500 after paid training and probation. Positions are available immediately. You must be 21 and over with a high school diploma or GED. Come, join our family. That's $52,500 with great benefits. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. Earn $52,500. Stop searching. Apply now. The Nashville Sheriff.
Men, this is Evan Bass with the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and I've been helping men with sexual health issues for many years. I've seen the pain and anxiety that men walk into the clinic with when erectile dysfunction is affecting them. And I also know the heartache and difficulty it can bring to their partner. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we've been successfully treating men for ED for many years now. We've seen the amazing impacts that those treatments have on a man's confidence and positivity. And we've seen the wonderful things those treatments also do for a man's relationship. That's why I'm pleased to announce that we are now offering the same great services we offer at our Nashville clinic at our new location in Franklin, which will make it much more convenient for those men living south of Nashville to get treated. So call us today and book your appointment at our Midtown location or at our new clinic in Cool Springs. Your first visit is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090. That's 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com.
Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments, extra results vary.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text The Game at 615-737-1025.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Is your check engine light on? The free Fix Finder service reads your check engine, ABS, and maintenance lights. It even sends a detailed report directly to your email. When you need to get back on the road, AutoZone's free Fix Finder service is here. Get the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. Only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
See details at AutoZone.com.
The postseason is here. Whether it's the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs or the NBA, we have you covered on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, where their advanced pay-by-TJ option can save you thousands when selling your home. Taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. By the way, answer to the trivia question I threw out there last segment. Titans drafted Vince Young in 06 at number 3 overall. Their second pick, Lindale White, running back out of USC. So congrats to Trevor, who was the first person to correctly guess that. So Lindale White, the answer. Joe, did you know that?
No, but that makes sense now that I think back. Yes, they got the other USC guy. There were a lot of USC guys who were good back then.
There were.
Coming out of college.
First round of that draft's pretty fun to go back and look at, too, from Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and DeBrickashaw Ferguson. Interesting picks there in the first round.
Oh, my.
Go
back and look at those grades.
Yep. So, Joe, you had an interesting question about Will Levis's contract that was brought up.
First of all, on my college friend text line, I got my buddy Guru says he just texted this picture of me with the Dukes, which is really a scary picture. Says, looks like a crazy person eating mayonnaise with a spoon. And then I told him I put it in my coffee. He said, oh, because of that Penn State backup quarterback the Titans drafted.
Yeah, good. Very good.
Nice. But LD from McMinnville on the text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com asked the question of, as we kind of go back to the Tannehill discussion, to maximize Levis's availability, shouldn't he play this coming season based on his contract length? So I think that's one of the points someone would make if they wanted the Titans to just cut Tannehill. Again, I don't think there's a trade market. I could be wrong, but I think it's probably cutting him. And then you play Levis. Again, I mean, you expect Levis to beat out Willis. Boy, if not, there's all kinds of wild stuff going on.
Then we got some problems. Yep.
Yeah, well, but maybe the flyer you took last year all of a sudden becomes brilliant. But so here's my thing, LD. I hear what you're saying because obviously you don't have the 5th-year option because you took him in the 2nd round. But look, if he's good enough, then you will extend him. You'll give him an extension going into the last year of his deal, right? I mean, you can still do that. You can still extend a guy. You just don't. Obviously, it's great to have the 5th-year option. But like, how are you maximizing someone's availability if you're rushing them onto the field as a rookie? So basically, I mean, to me, that's fanking, and maybe that's the plan. If that's the plan, so you can get him you're starving for Marvin, then fine. But like, what you need Will Levis to be a really good quarterback starting in 2024. And you need him to do that again in 25. And if he does, then before you get to 26, you will extend his contract.
Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Chris from Atlanta. Chris, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. So the best way I could put this is I'm really trying to be positive about this class. I really, really am. To me, it's we always talk for, football recruiting. This, to me, is a foundational class for Rand Carthon. That's the best way I could put it. Now, where I have a hard time with it is the fact that, yes, we drafted all offense, which is great, considering the needs that we had. But still, it's the wide receiver question. And even if I was Vrabel, I would really look at Vrabel and go, your best success was having Derrick Henry at the running back position, Ryan Tannehill with a capable offensive line, and on that, 2 wide receivers, and Corey Davis and A.J. Brown, that could take pressure off of Derrick Henry. And right now, I'm looking at that and going, you have nothing to that level. And so for them to draft a wide receiver with the last pick, yeah, that's great. You fulfill a quote-unquote need. But there were so many other good wide receivers in between the last pick and maybe Tajay Spears. Or if you want to go back even further, even between him and Will Levis. So for them to say, yes, we had our board or we went off our board, that's great, but it's also ignoring what you guys really, truly needed to kind of take that next step.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to be positive, but the fact that we didn't do that kind of grinds my gears a little.
Yep. Thanks for the call, Chris. Appreciate it. I mean, Joe, the bottom line is, we can talk about Peter Skoronski, and obviously they took him 11 overall, and they need him to be great where he is. And we could talk about Spears, and we could talk about not taking a wide receiver until the 7th round, and all those things are important and worth discussing. The bottom line is the fate of this draft class is going to come down to Will Levis. Like, if Will Levis is great, that's where people are going to remember from this draft class. And if he's not, quite frankly, it doesn't really matter what any of the other guys do, because then in 3 years, 4 years' time, you got to go find another quarterback anyway. So this is going to begin and end with Will Levis and how he plays at the next level.
No question. Nick Suss had a good piece in the Tennessean to that effect, which is like, he went back through some other, quarterback drafts, significant quarterback drafts, where it's like no one remembers, like this 4th round pick or this 2nd round pick. Or, it's when you do this, and this is like, it is different. It is to an extent taking a flyer because you didn't go 1st round, but it's different than Malik Willis. Malik Willis, you're at 86, and if I remember correctly, I think John Robinson said the big board thing last year when they drafted Willis. Basically, like, big board said Willis, so they took Willis at 86. This was go get the guy at 33, sacrifice a 3rd rounder next year. Obviously, that's nothing like what they would have sacrificed for C.J. Stroud, and that's the thing. I mean, I can certainly make the case that because I think C.J. Stroud is going to be good. I can make the case that Will Levis could be better than C.J. Stroud in the NFL. I'm not predicting that. I can certainly make the case that what you would have given up for C.J. Stroud, the value here is a tremendous, benefit or by comparison. But still, is he going to be great? That's what he has to be, and that's how this draft will be defined. And to me, also, with Vrabel, Ran MVC, Ray Ran, whatever you want to call him, to me, this is both of them now. I consider everything they do now to be as much Vrabel as anyone else.
Let's go back to our 102.5 The Game phone line and welcome in Paul in Nashville. Paul, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. If you all have addressed this already, I apologize, but I wanted to get your take on the press conference and the whole long spiel about the guys and how it's their only draft day and how just weird that seemed. I'm sure that there's going to be a hot and heavy dose of that this afternoon, so I was hoping to catch a more balanced take from you guys. It hit my ears weird, but as a journalist and as sports experts like you are, what do you guys think?
So what specifically are you referring to there from the press conference?
Oh, when Rand Carthon went on and on about how the media should,
okay.
I don't know if it was just the media or Twitter about the players and, everyone should be nice. It just was weird.
Yeah,
it was
I gotcha.
Just not normal. That was what I was curious about.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Paul. Appreciate it. Joe, what did you think of that?
Yeah, I wrote about that today in my 2,500 word sort of takes from the draft. Well, first of all, what I thought when he said it, and I wrote this, is like, oh my God, Twitter's gonna go off on this sucker. Holy cow!
Yeah, boy, did it
this
ever.
Quote is gonna be, yeah. So, look, and for people who don't know, I'll give you a little segment of the quote. He's basically talking about these kids are living. We're asking questions about Tyjae Spears. I keep wanting to say Tyjae Sharp.
Yes,
Tyjae Spears'
me too.
knee, right? Yeah, his knee, and so basically, he's like, I want to say something here, guys. And he's like, basically, like, look, like this is a joyous time. Here, quote, this should be a joyous moment for us to praise these kids. This is a moment these kids are going to see this. This is a moment for them and their families to rejoice because it's only going to happen once. There'll be other times to critique what they've done. This is a moment for them and their families to have something to be proud of and enjoy this moment, end quote. And there was a lot more to it than that. But like as soon as he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's going to get absolutely crushed for this. Here's the thing. You guys know me, like I'm big on, I think it's a lot of it is like my age now. And I mean, I could easily be, almost be the grandfather of some of these kids. And I do look at it differently. Like some people, no matter how old they get, they're like, hey, what's wrong with your knee? Hey, what's wrong? Why'd you drop that pass, you loser? I'm not speaking about anybody in particular. But I'm for like being more human, and I'm for more perspective and having some decency, in these interactions and everything. But I mean, come on. I mean, it's the draft, and all the questions were just about an injury. This team has a history of injuries. And I think the thing that with Carthon on this that I would say is like, let's remember that there's no other league in this country that's anything close to this in terms of people caring about drafts. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
NBA draft would be next, because we do see a lot of those guys playing college basketball. But this is 1,000 times more important than any other draft, and it's absolutely broke. And it's part of why the NFL is so much more successful. All of it. And part of that is absolutely digging in the nitty gritty of all these draft picks. So yeah, I certainly disagree with him, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. I also knew some of the criticism would be over the top and ridiculous too. But yeah, I would just say that's one of those. I get it. I'm for some of what you're saying, but in this situation, if we're not asking nasty, unfounded questions about someone, yeah, we're going to ask about someone's health history, man.
Well, especially given what's happened with this team on the field the last 2 years. Why would you not ask about it? I mean, they've been the most injured team in the league the last 2 years. It's a question that writes itself.
The time to celebrate anything is not when you're talking to media. We're not here to celebrate anything. We're here to ask you questions.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025. We'll have more on Will Levis and the Titans draft coming up next. We'll get into a wild weekend of NBA, NHL playoffs as well. All that coming up. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
blocking out Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knezovic here for Superbook Sports. Baseball's back, and the push for the postseason is on for hockey and hoops. We have got a second-round matchup between the Lakers and the Warriors. Oh, I am so excited for this one. I'm already calling it. It's going to go to 7 games. But listen, Steph Curry is 15-7 when he plays LeBron James in the postseason. He proved it last night with his 50-point game in Game 7. So in the first matchup, Warriors are 4.5-point favorite, but the Lakers got a little bit more rest. So I'm going to take the Lakers plus the 4.5. Also going to take them on the money line plus 165. But I think the Warriors win this series outright. So Superbook Sports is the best wagering app around with a direct line to experienced bookmakers behind the counter in Las Vegas. Plus, you can get a $250 bonus when you sign up and deposit and wager all in the same day. So download the app, sign up, put a little money on there, wager, do the bet I just told you about the Warriors and the Lakers, and you will get a $250 bonus. So don't let the spring pass you by without winning some money from Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Attention, buckaroos. It's time for the Franklin Rodeo. So saddle up and hold on to your lasso. It's 3 days of bull riding, calf roping, western wear, funny clowns, and some of the most talented horses you've ever seen. Join the Stampede from May 18th to May 20th. The Franklin Rodeo is held at the Williamson County Ag Expo Park and is brought to you by Ram Rodeo, Franklin Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Williamson Health, Event 1FX, and Wesley Mortgage. Tickets on sale now at franklinrodeo.com. It's a buckin' good time.
Do you ever feel like gambling is causing financial strain or hurting your relationships? The Gambling Clinic has been helping people who want to change their gambling habits for over 2 decades. With physical clinics and remote online appointments, we're here to help you make informed decisions about your gambling so it doesn't lead to a bigger problem. Visit us at thegamblingclinic.com so we can work together to help you win your life back. This project is funded by the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services.
You don't have just an ordinary mom in your life. She's the best. Her work never stops. Her sacrifices are many. Her love is unfailing. This Mother's Day, Genesis Diamonds invites you to join us in celebrating and appreciating the mothers in our lives. Stop in and let one of our trusted advisors help you find a special, meaningful gift. Layering necklaces, stackable rings, eternity bands, pearls, elegant diamond pendants, and of course, stunning diamond earrings. Great Mother's Day ideas for any budget. There's no doubt we love Mom, but sometimes a little extra appreciation goes a long way as a thank you for helping us through challenges, making sacrifices, and always putting the family first. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, Mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. And at Genesis, that's our specialty. Exquisite rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, heirloom pieces. Timeless gifts of jewelry that she can enjoy and cherish for decades to come, and always be reminded of how special she is to the family. Genesis Diamonds, online at genesisdiamonds.net.
Sometimes he gets lonely and needs some company.
10 for 17 for 45 yards in his career with 1 interception.
This is one of those years where it's a step back for them.
And that'll create more one-on-one situations and make it easier for him to throw the ball down the field.
It's Stillman and Company.
You've got real talent.
With Jared Stillman, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Welcome back in. Final segment of the day. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Michelle Knezdovic here with you on this Monday morning. Joe, they're rolling through their NFL draft superlatives on Get Up this morning. And the best value pick of the whole draft given to the Titans for Will Levis by our good friend Mel Kiper Jr. I'll give Kiper give Kiper credit. He sticks to his guns, man. He really does. He was banging the drum for Levis the whole first round.
Big time. Man, he loves Levis. We should have Kiper on here on WHMR. Talk about a little Will Levis, how there's really nothing bad and everything good about him.
I just want Kiper on the phone, and we can have Caroline join us too, and they can just go back and forth in Kiper voice the whole time. It'd be good.
Yes. Dennis has a good question I wanted to get to here. I mean, again, this is another day where we could use more show. We don't have enough show.
We've been sabotaged.
Now in July, when we have 15 minutes of show, come talk to me. But Dennis says, now that the draft is over, how many starters will be on offense opening day who weren't on the roster last season? So let's see. I'll say Dillard, Skoronski, Brunskill.
Yep.
And he's talking offense. I think that's probably it, unless there's, I guess you could look at Wiley. I think Wiley is basically, the young new Swaim. I think he has more receiving upside than Swaim. His measurables are good. And look, here's the thing. Wiley, that's fickle, right?
Oh yeah.
There is value in your best friend being able to tell you the real deal. One thing that happens this time of year, whose story was it? I think maybe Sando's story recently is like, yeah, Dabo's full of crap. I don't believe him. He says all these guys are going to be all pros. Like at some point you tune them out. It's important to have people you trust. Mike Loxley, Maryland's coach. Well, the Titans got a pretty good value in Chig last year. Now, Rand wasn't here, but Vrabel, Rand mentioned a Vrabel connection. He's known him a long time. Loxley coached Rand at Florida.
Yep.
So now they get another Maryland kid who there's a lot of it's like super athletic, great measurables. Does he care? There's a lot of questions about him. They bring him into the building. They love him. They draft him. They might have a super sleeper there on their hands. But those personal connections, I think, are good if they can help inform your decisions.
Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line and welcome in Big E from Nashville. Big E, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. I am a huge Titans fan, but I will say that I'm not a fan of the Will Levis pick. If you're taking a flyer, which I understand the whole prospect about this being a good value pick in terms of where they got him, but if you're taking a flyer at quarterback, is he really a better flyer to take than Hooker in this situation? You could have gotten a starting wide receiver or a stud tight end like Mayer from Notre Dame in the second round, and not give up much, and still get Hooker in the third or late second with a small move up. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Levis takes the wheel from Tannehill, but I think that the Titans could have done better. That's just my take on it.
Yep. Hey, thanks for the call, Big E. Joe, obviously we're going to have a lot to get to on the Will Levis front over the next few days and weeks and months and years as we unpack Will Levis to the Tennessee Titans. Really enjoyed the discussion on that front today. We're going to obviously continue to talk about Will Levis and this Titans draft class all week long. I do want to get to the playoffs in both the NBA and the NHL because it was a wild weekend on both fronts. Starting in the NBA, the Warriors take down the Kings yesterday. Steph Curry with 50 points in Game 7. And we're going to have LeBron and the Lakers and Steph Curry and the Warriors in round 2, which is going to be awesome.
And again, if you could have seen me yesterday, just an absolute pathetic fanboy jumping around my living room. Luckily for Katie, she's out of town, so she didn't have to witness it. But no, it was incredible. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen. I'm biased because I love the Warriors. But seriously, it's a historic performance by Steph Curry. And, I mean, basically, no one else. Looney gets every rebound and Curry hits every shot. And other than that, Draymond plays good defense. I mean, Clay was terrible yesterday, couldn't hit a shot. Wiggins couldn't hit a shot. Incredible, and I can't wait for that series.
By the way, the Grizzlies just getting absolutely smacked by the Lakers on Friday night. They got destroyed in that game. It was unbelievable.
And then Dylan Brooks doesn't talk. Absolutely so weak. So weak. Get him out of there.
Yes.
Get him out.
They need to move on from him. We'll see how that goes this offseason. On the Stanley Cup playoff front, had a couple of Game 7s yesterday. The Boston Bruins up 3-2 in the game yesterday, up 3-1 in the series originally, won 65 games and set a wins record and a points record in the NHL. And the Panthers tied things up with a minute left in regulation yesterday, 3-3. And then Carter Verhaeghe wins it in overtime for Florida. And they bounced Boston in the first round after the Bruins won 65 games this year in overtime. What a win for the Panthers.
Called shot. Ding, 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 ding.
You nailed that one.
Also, if yesterday wasn't the ultimate endorsement of just get in
the
NHL playoffs, I mean, that's a pretty strong endorsement. Also, I'd like to do a quick shout-out to my next-door neighbors, the Kerns, who are huge Florida Panthers fans.
Really?
You don't always find that too often.
You
but
don't.
I know that they were absolutely raging through the night in celebration. Congratulations.
You don't
to all
find
you
that
Florida Panthers fans
even in
out
Florida. You don't find that very often.
Yeah, how about that?
But the Panthers win. The Seattle Kraken take down the reigning Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche on the road yesterday. And the Leafs over the weekend battle back from a deficit and come back, win the game, and they win in overtime. They win 3 games in overtime in the series on the road in Tampa. And they actually win and advance to the second round. So you're talking about a first round of the playoffs, Joe Rexrode, that saw the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Boston Bruins all sent home. And by the way, Game 7 tonight between the Devils and the Rangers.
Oh, boy, and I'm excited for that, and good for the Leafs. Also, John Cooper's comments after will tell you there's some bitterness with Tampa Bay. But, look, they lost. They still didn't play well enough, and now the Leafs have Boston out of the way. Canada is about to absolutely melt down with the Leafs-Oilers final.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait till Florida takes them down in the second round with the path opening up for the Leafs as well. Now, a lot of people are like, and I get it, and we don't have enough time for me to fully talk about this today, but like the Panthers and the Preds basically had the same record, and the Preds swept them, and the just get in thing, which is true. Like how many examples do we have of that in the playoffs? I will say, I mean, this team did win the President's Trophy last year. And I know that they've made some changes and
they're different.
in. They're different. They did win the President's Trophy last year. It's not your average 8 seed. When they drew Boston,
better goalie.
Well, that's true. When they drew Boston, I was like, if you're the Bruins, and we talked about it at the time, like that's a pretty talented Florida team you're going to have to deal with if you're Boston, and they could not deal with it.
And also, real quick, how about Grubauer's revenge?
Oh yeah, just awesome. The Kraken taking down
incredible, man.
The Avalanche. So. You have the Kraken taking down the reigning Cup champion. It's been a wild playoff so far. And I will say, number one, Devils-Rangers tonight should be interesting. The Rangers look like they remembered how to play hockey in Game 6, which was a huge step up from Games 4 and 5 of that series. So we'll see what that looks like tonight. I will say, especially with Colorado out, the path is wide open for those Edmonton Oilers. We'll see if they can keep things going. That's going to do it for us today here on Robby and Rexrode. We'll be back 6 a.m. tomorrow. Jason Michelle up next. This is 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
No, we promise. It's not as simple as Hendon looks out there and says, you on you, I'm throwing it deep. I promise it's more complicated.